Chapter 745. Jinkong felt a little anxious on the side, but even if he felt anxious, he did not dare to interrupt Ning Cheng's words. Fortunately, after Ning Cheng handed the medicinal pills to Warren and Yuanxue, he raised his hand and slapped Jinkong's glabella. Jinkong didn't even have the chance to stop it. Xingshan's expression changed, but he didn't dare to stop them. When Ning Cheng's palm left Jinkong's glabella, Jinkong immediately bowed to Ning Cheng in surprise. "Many thanks, senior, for removing the restriction on this junior." Xingshan heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Jinkong, and he hurriedly bowed to express his gratitude. It was really difficult for a family like theirs to produce a Sky Realm powerhouse. If Jinkong were to fall, it would absolutely be a huge blow to the O clan. Ning Cheng nodded and asked Warren, "You should have gone to Cheng Rulan Artifact Crafting Store, right? Did you see Jian Jiao?" Warren shook his head. "We were waiting in Cheng Rulan Artifact Crafting Store. I've heard about junior apprentice brother Jian Jiao, but when we arrived, junior apprentice brother Jian Jiao had not returned." Ning Cheng suddenly frowned. According to the words of the shop assistant who was familiar with Jian Jiao should have already returned. If he hadn't returned yet, then it was very likely that something had happened. "You can go back into secluded cultivation first. I also want to go into seclusion for a while." Ning Cheng knew that something might have happened to Jian Jiao and felt a little worried. Therefore, he wanted to go and take a look. Ning Rulan also knew that she had to speed up her cultivation. Now that her big brother was alright, she decided to head back first to continue her seclusion. Warren and Yuanxue had long since wanted to attack the heaven-seated realm. Now that they received Ning Cheng's instructions, they quickly said their goodbyes. After Jinkong and the others left, Ning Cheng asked, "Sect Master Tsang, I heard that a cultivator named Duan Gantai came here?" Tsang Saiha replied with a dignified expression, "Yes, I was just about to mention this to Sect Master. This Duan Gantai and I met before and even had a vague confrontation. This person's cultivation seemed to have just entered the life and death realm, but his strength was astonishing. Even though he hasn't used his full strength, I can tell that he has great potential. He's looking for you. Sect Master, you must be careful. This person doesn't look easy to deal with." Ning Cheng secretly praised Tsang Saiha in his heart. Tsang Saiha was one of the 3 major rogue cultivators and also the premier pill emperor. If Duan Gantai were easy to deal with, he wouldn't have wanted to cooperate with him today. "Sect Master Tsang, I'm going into seclusion for a while. After that, I'll have to make a trip to the Devouring Bone Sea before heading to Culmination Starland. I'll have to trouble Sect Master Tsang with regards to the matters of Stately River Star and Mysterious Yellow Celestial River." Ning Cheng spoke with an apologetic tone. After the establishment of the sect, he rarely took care of things. Tsang Saiha originally didn't like to meddle in these things, but now that he was being pulled by him, he had no choice but to do so. Ning Cheng really didn't have the time to stay in Covered Snow City to manage the sect. He had too many things to do. Although he wanted to go to the Devouring Bone Sea for the Purple Light Treasure Eyes, his Celestial River Flame was still only at the 2nd grade Nirvana realm. If he wanted to improve his strength, he needed to improve his flame at a faster pace. In the jade strip given to him by Starry Sky Emperor Wu Hong, it stated that the Purple Light Treasure Eyes came from the Devouring Bone Sea. Heavenly Emperor Wu Hong was a good person, but unfortunately, Ning Cheng couldn't save him in time. Otherwise, Ning Cheng would have definitely helped them. It was already the 5th month since Ning Cheng came out of the ancient Shadow Temple. Ning Cheng once again handed over the sect's matters to Tsang Saiha and left Stately River Star. He left a talisman for Tsang Saiha, a talisman that contained a trace of his spiritual sense. No matter where he was, as long as Tsang Saiha crushed this talisman, he would be able to sense it. During the 5 months of seclusion in the mysterious Yellow Sect, Ning Cheng, in addition to forcing out the Yin chill in his body, stabilized his sea of consciousness. His sea of consciousness had expanded to another level, and his spiritual sense had also soared. Therefore, he had to spend some time stabilizing it. In the end, Ning Cheng refined the measureless gourd. After refining the measureless gourd, Ning Cheng had no idea how powerful this gourd was. Because this gourd didn't have any offensive or defensive effects. According to the information Ning Cheng obtained after refining it, this gourd's only function was to store things. Ning Cheng couldn't figure out why such a gourd would be placed together with the opening heaven talisman's child talisman and even the Dao fruit. After experiencing the dangers of the ancient Shadow Temple, Ning Cheng now suspected that the person behind the futility bridge had deliberately placed the 5 golden boxes there. Moreover, the person's purpose was to pretend to be mysterious and then attract powerhouses to jump down from the pentagonal hall. To be honest, Ning Cheng didn't hesitate to jump down at that time. It was also because he had the same thoughts as the other Starry Sky Emperors. That is, since the pentagonal hall contains so many treasures, then there must be even more treasures below. Who knew that after jumping down, it would be a deadly pit? In any case, Ning Cheng wouldn't return to the ancient Shadow Temple until he grew strong to a certain extent. At this time, he had already arrived at the Night Essence Celestial River. Strictly speaking, the Devouring Bone Sea didn't belong to the Night Essence Celestial River. Originally, there was an uninhabited planet in the starry sky near the Night Essence Celestial River. Because this planet had all kinds of poisonous miasma, coupled with the thin starry sky essence chi, it wasn't suitable for cultivators to survive. However, cultivation resources were limited in the starry sky. Therefore, when rogue cultivators couldn't find cultivation resources, even if it was a planet unsuitable for survival, they would still search for it. However, this uninhabited planet also attracted some rogue cultivators, which was how they discovered the Devouring Bone Sea. The Devouring Bone Sea was located at the center of this planet. One could say that this uninhabited planet had nothing but a sea, except for some land around it. This sea was the Devouring Bone Sea. Even an eternal powerhouse's spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep through a slightly larger planet. Moreover, the planet where the Devouring Bone Sea was located was several times larger than the average planet. Naturally, no one could sweep through such a large planet. After many cultivators discovered the Devouring Bone Sea, they found all kinds of heavenly treasures in the Devouring Bone Sea. Even many eternal powerhouses would go to the Devouring Bone Sea to search for cultivation resources. Although the Devouring Bone Sea had many good things, it was also a dangerous place. Of the cultivators who entered the Devouring Bone Sea, only half of them could return alive. Most of the cultivators who entered the Devouring Bone Sea would disappear without a trace. Skeletons often surfaced on the beaches of the Devouring Bone Sea, which was also where the name Devouring Bone Sea came from. Over time, the planet where the Devouring Bone Sea was located also came to be known as the Devouring Bone Star. Ning Cheng initially thought that there wouldn't be many people in a dangerous place like the Devouring Bone Sea. But when he arrived at the Devouring Bone Sea, he realized how outrageous his thoughts were. It wasn't that there weren't many people here, rather, it was as crowded as a bustling starry sky city. At the edge of the Devouring Bone Sea, a temporary city had already been established. Cultivators came here to trade, while cultivators formed teams to enter the Devouring Bone Sea. Kid, you stole this old man's things and want to leave, don't even dream about it. Ning Cheng was just about to buy a jade strip with a map of the Devouring Bone Sea when a familiar figure appeared in the range of Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng immediately caught this person's voice. Whether it was the figure or the voice, Ning Cheng found it familiar. He knew this person. To be precise, he knew this starry sky beggar. In the starry sky, many people dressed up as wanderers or adventurers, but not many dressed up as beggars. Moreover, this fellow liked to dress up as a beggar and swindle people everywhere. Ning Cheng had almost fallen into his trap at that time. Fortunately, Ning Cheng was rational enough to use this old beggar once. Seeing the old beggar slap a man and a woman to the ground, Ning Cheng immediately flew over. Hey, kid, I was just about to look for you. I didn't expect you to take the initiative to come to me. This old man told you to go to Bright South Celestial River, why didn't you go? Don't worry, wait for me to deal with these two little things, then this old man will come and settle accounts with you. After the old beggar saw Ning Cheng, his eyes immediately lit up. He had wanted to leave a mark on Ning Cheng, but he didn't expect to fall into Ning Cheng's trap. He just didn't want to look for Ning Cheng. He didn't expect to meet Ning Cheng in this place. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile but didn't speak, nor did he leave. This old beggar was the Celestial River King of Bright South Celestial River. When he first met Bright South Celestial River King, he was still a celestial novice ant. His cultivation was worlds apart from Bright South Celestial River King. But when they met again, he was already a life and death expert, while Bright South Celestial River King was still in the heaven-seated realm. If he was an ant in front of Bright South Celestial River King in the past, then Bright South Celestial River King was now an ant in front of him. The world was unpredictable. Who would have thought that in such a short time, the strong and the weak would change positions? Bright South Celestial River King was still a chess piece under Striking Order Heavenly Emperor, while he and Striking Order had already become brothers. Bright South Celestial River King, on seeing Ning Cheng waiting on the side, felt a little satisfied. He stared at the man and woman in front of him, who he had just slapped away, and said, "Two ants dared to steal this king's things. What are your names?" Ning Cheng secretly felt disdain in his heart. This man and woman only had celestial novice cultivation. Ning Cheng didn't believe that two celestial novice cultivators would dare to steal something from a celestial river king. Most likely, Bright South Celestial River King had taken a fancy to the things on these two celestial novice cultivators and found an excuse to snatch them. Ning Cheng already knew what kind of person Bright South Celestial River King was. If not for the middle-aged scholar standing next to him, Bright South Celestial River King might have taken him away at that time. He would never have wasted an image card. This junior is Lei Junfeng, and this is this junior's Dao companion, Bei Shelon. Although Bright South Celestial River King had crippled the Celestial Shatterer male cultivator's cultivation, he still spoke in a respectful tone without even the slightest bit of resentment. The people next to him could even hear the genuine respect in his tone. Ning Cheng secretly admired this fellow. If this fellow hadn't met Bright South Celestial River King and ended up crippled, he would have definitely become a powerful character in the future. Wait, Ning Cheng suddenly felt that the names Lei Junfeng and Bei Shelon sounded a little familiar. At this moment, Lei Junfeng continued, "Senior, this junior must have been blind." Seeing Senior's glazed scroll gave rise to greed. While speaking, Lei Junfeng knelt on the ground and raised a painting with both hands. Ning Cheng's expression changed when he saw the glazed scroll. He finally remembered who Lei Junfeng was. Chapter 746. Not waiting for Bright South Celestial River King to take action, Ning Cheng raised his hand and took the glazed scroll from Lei Junfeng's hand. Bright South Celestial River King's face sank. A celestial novice ant dared to take away the glazed scroll before he even opened his mouth. Even at this moment, he still didn't think that Ning Cheng really wanted to take away the glazed scroll and instead helped him take it. Even so, he still felt uncomfortable in his heart. He didn't need this kind of flattery. You two have some guts. You stole my Rainbow Fall Sword sect hallowed treasure, the glazed scroll, and even dared to offer it to others here. Ning Cheng grabbed the glazed scroll and spoke with a cold expression. Only then did Lei Junfeng and Bei Shelon see Ning Cheng. When Lei Junfeng saw Ning Cheng, his expression suddenly changed, and he quickly spoke up, "Lei Junfeng greets Sect Master Ning." Ning Cheng had a huge reputation in the graceful Star mainland. As long as one was a cultivator from the Tian continent in the graceful Star mainland, no one would not know about Ning Cheng. Moreover, when Ning Cheng entered Heaven's Way, Lei Junfeng was still far from entering Heaven's Way. Although Ning Cheng didn't know about him, he knew about Ning Cheng. Bei Shelon greets Sect Master Ning. Bei Shelon had always been hiding with Lei Junfeng, so she naturally knew about Ning Cheng's illustrious name. They had become traitors to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect and turned against the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. Although they hid in the dark, they had always been paying attention to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. Ning Cheng single-handedly swept through the major sects of the Tian continent and even destroyed the top-ranked Red Star Sword faction. This kind of prestige made them not dare to come forward. Bright South Celestial River King gave a cold snort and stared at Ning Cheng. Little thing, I just caught up with the thing I lost. What do you mean by taking it away? Do you think that this king would spare your life just because you met this king once? While speaking, Bright South Celestial River King's domain opened up, and a powerful imposing aura pressed down on Ning Cheng. Even if he was slow, Bright South Celestial River King understood that Ning Cheng wasn't trying to flatter him. Instead, he really wanted to take away the glazed scroll. With Bright South Celestial River King's reputation, even those who did not know about Bright South Celestial River King, upon hearing this king's address and seeing Bright South Celestial River King's anger, would quickly step aside. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile and slowly walked towards Bright South Celestial River King while holding the glazed scroll. This beggar, this glazed scroll is my Rainbow Fall Sword sect protecting treasure. It comes from a low-level positional plane. How did it become yours? Don't talk nonsense, or I'll get angry. Bright South Celestial River King saw Ning Cheng walking over unaffected, while his domain crumbled like a piece of paper. Seeing this, Bright South Celestial River King's expressions immediately changed. To be able to stroll around so leisurely in his domain, one's cultivation must be much higher than his. How many years had it been? This kid had actually grown to such an extent. He had traveled to many places in the starry sky and experienced many years. Yet, he had never seen such a monstrous character like Ning Cheng. He had not misjudged this kid back then. There was a big secret on this kid. A trace of regret welled up in his heart, but Bright South Celestial River King quickly suppressed it. Forcing a smile on his face, he spoke, so it's Sect Master Ning. I wonder if Sect Master Ning has the time to visit my Bright South Celestial River. Ning Cheng was just a nobody. Even if he had heard of Ning Cheng's name in the past, he would not have taken it to heart. But when he heard Lei Junfeng address Ning Cheng as Sect Master Ning, he decided to call him Sect Master Ning. In his opinion, Ning Cheng's cultivation should have reached the heaven-seated realm, but not much higher than him. Lei Junfeng and Bei Shelon looked at Ning Cheng sluggishly. Both of them were geniuses among geniuses. Only now did the two of them realize what a true genius was. This Sect Master Ning seemed to be a powerhouse among powerhouses no matter where he went. Ning Cheng spoke up with a calm voice, "You're just a Celestial River King, and you can't even move me. If you hadn't inadvertently helped me in the past, I would have wasted you today for daring to snatch my Rainbow Fall Sword Sect's glazed scroll. You can leave now. Don't affect my mood." While speaking, a powerful imposing aura pressed down on Bright South Celestial River King. Not only did this imposing aura instantly dissipate Bright South Celestial River King's domain, but it also prevented him from speaking for a while. In the face of this kind of power, Bright South Celestial River King's heart trembled. If he thought that Ning Cheng was an ant when he first saw Ning Cheng, then a dozen breaths ago, he had already regarded Ning Cheng as an opponent on the same level. But now, he was sure that the gap between him and Ning Cheng was just too far apart. Even in front of Ning Cheng, he was just an ant. Knowing that he couldn't compare to Ning Cheng, Bright South Celestial River King quickly cupped his fists and said, "Bright South is reckless. I haven't asked where the Rainbow Fall Sword Sect is located. Bright South will pay a formal visit in the future." Fearing that Ning Cheng would misunderstand, Bright South Celestial River King spoke very carefully. However, his words also represented that he was somewhat unwilling and wanted to know about Ning Cheng's background. Ning Cheng smiled, "My name is Ning Cheng, Mysterious Yellow Celestial Rivers Jiangzhou's Celestial Lord, Mysterious Yellow Sect Master. But if you want to visit me, you're still not qualified." After Bright South Celestial River King heard Ning Cheng's words, cold sweat broke out on his back. He didn't know about Sect Master Ning, but he was too familiar with Jiangzhou Star's Ning Cheng. This was a person who called Striking Order Heavenly Emperor a brother. He had heard that named descendant Celestial River King had offended Ning Cheng and ended up getting killed by Ning Cheng. Named descendant Celestial River also became his territory and was renamed Mysterious Yellow Celestial River. Even so, Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor and 9 Phoenix Heavenly Emperor still came to visit him in person. They didn't even mention half a word about taking back Descendant's Celestial River. Since Bright South's Celestial River King had offended such a powerhouse, no matter how many heads he had, it wouldn't be enough for them to ring it off. Bright South's Celestial River King no longer dared to sit on the same level as Ning Cheng and cupped his fists. Instead, he directly bowed to the ground. Bright South has eyes but failed to see. Seeing the glazed scroll, I became greedy and offended Senior Ning. Please forgive me, Senior. Despite asking for Ning Cheng's forgiveness, Bright South's Celestial River King couldn't help but tremble slightly. He had also heard that mysterious Yellow Sect Master and more than a dozen Eternal-level powerhouses, including the 4 Grand Starry Sky Emperors, had entered the ancient Shadow Temple. But now, none of the Eternal-level Heavenly Emperors who entered the ancient Shadow Temple had any news about Sect Master Ning. Just thinking about it made him tremble. You can go now. If you don't get rid of your greed, it will bring disaster to you sooner or later. Ning Cheng put away the glazed scroll and spoke with a calm voice. Yes, yes. This junior will remember Senior's teachings. This junior will take his leave. Bright South's Celestial River King didn't even dare to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead and quickly left. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. Didn't he feel the same fear when facing Bright South's Celestial River King in the past? Did he have to address Bright South's Celestial River King as Senior? The world was unpredictable. Now, Bright South's Celestial River King had to address him as Senior, yet he still felt the same fear when facing him. Within the starry sky, it was indeed a powerhouse who spoke. If not for his higher cultivation compared to Bright South's Celestial River King, he would have suffered a detailed soul search from Bright South's Celestial River King. Sect Master. Lei Junfeng and Bei Shelon, on seeing an expert like Bright South's Celestial River King address Ning Cheng as Senior and retreated in fear, felt even more flustered. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over Lei Junfeng and Bei Shelon before looking at Bei Shelon and speaking in a cold voice. Dan Wenyao must have gone blind to like a woman like you. Sect Master. Bei Shelon's voice trembled. She felt worried that Ning Cheng could kill her and Lei Junfeng with just a raise of his hand. Get lost. You two deceived your masters and destroyed your ancestors. You deserve to fall into this situation. Ning Cheng berated. He didn't want to kill these two people who had lost their cultivations at all. Losing their cultivation in such a place was tantamount to death. To be honest, he didn't have any direct hatred for Lei Junfeng and Bei Shelon. Although he had taken care of the Rainbow Fall Sword Sect's sect master for some time and had some feelings for the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. However, in Ning Cheng's heart, he recognized the current mysterious Yellow Sect more. After all, the Rainbow Fall Sword sect wasn't his own sect. Many thanks, Sect Master, for showing mercy. Lei Junfeng and Bei Shelon knelt on the ground and then slowly retreated. They felt even more shocked than Bright South's Celestial River King. Ning Cheng had left the graceful Star Mainland around the same time as them. But now, even Bright South's Celestial River King had to bow and call Ning Cheng Senior. As for them, they had tried everything to improve their strength, only to end up like this. Ning Cheng looked at the backs of the two and shook his head. It was true that these two people loved each other, but even if they loved each other and wanted to escape from the Rainbow Fall Sword sect, it was just a matter of morality. However, these two people had gone too far. Not only did they betray the sect, but they even colluded with outsiders to snatch the yonder immortal Rainbow Fall Sword from the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. Ning Cheng could never tolerate such a thing. Otherwise, Ning Cheng would have just helped the two of them, and it would not have been impossible. Although the devouring bone sea was vast, most of the cultivators who came here were concentrated around a temporary city. The news that Bright South's Celestial River King had to call Ning Cheng Senior spread throughout this temporary city by the devouring bone sea in a short time. When Ning Cheng came in, the cultivators on both sides of the street immediately gave way in awe. This made Ning Cheng feel a little helpless. The law of the jungle, where the strong preyed on the weak, manifested itself even more vividly in the devouring bone sea. No one cared about this place, and the cultivators who came and went constantly changed their faces. The weak didn't want to provoke the strong, let alone clash with a powerhouse like Ning Cheng. "Senior, what do you need?" Ning Cheng had just walked into a merchant house when the shop assistant greeted him with a smile and a respectful expression. Ning Cheng found that although there were many people here, only he had a dedicated shop assistant greeting him with a smile. "I need a detailed map of the Devouring Bone Sea." Ning Cheng didn't want to stay in this place for long. After getting the map, he immediately set out to sea. The shop assistant hurriedly explained, "Senior, the Devouring Bone Sea is too big. Even the maps are piece by piece. If Senior wants to tell me what you are looking for, this junior can help Senior find a map of a specific area." "I want to find the Purple Light Treasure Essence." Ning Cheng didn't hide anything. He came here to find the Purple Light Treasure Essence. Moreover, with his strength, no one would dare to do anything to him. The shop assistant's face stiffened and spoke up in embarrassment, "Purple Light Treasure Essence? This." Ning Cheng could tell from his tone and expression that he might not have even heard of the Purple Light Treasure Essence. Something like the Purple Light Treasure Essence wasn't something ordinary cultivators could come into contact with. Even if it existed in the Devouring Bone Sea, it wouldn't be in the periphery. "Senior, I know about this thing." A sudden voice spoke up from beside Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt happy and was just about to speak when he saw Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan walking in, supporting each other. Chapter 747. Ning Cheng felt a little puzzled. It stood to reason that Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan should have gone as far as possible. These two fellows had met him. If they had met Rui Baishan, then Rui Baishan would have already killed these two fellows. Ning Cheng didn't care about the Lei Junfeng duo and looked at the dark-faced youth with a smile. "Did you just say that you know about the Purple Light Treasure Essence?" It was this black-faced youth who had said that he knew about Purple Light Treasure Essence. This dark-faced youth only had the cultivation of late-stage Celestial Gatherer realm. At this time, on seeing Ning Cheng speak to him, his face immediately turned red with excitement. Yes, senior, I have a jade strip here." The jade slip is a place in the Devouring Bone Sea. It's marked with Purple Light Treasure Essence, but I don't know what it is. While speaking, this black-faced youth respectfully handed over a jade strip to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness casually swept through the jade strip and immediately knew that this young man did not lie. This jade strip was definitely quite old. Furthermore, the cultivation of the person who inscribed it was not low. It should be a fake. "Thanks a lot." Ning Cheng put away the jade strip, took out a jade bottle and handed it to the black-faced youth. "These are a few soul-nourishing pills, I'll give them to you." "Thank you, senior." The young man bowed and took the jade bottle. He was still a little disappointed. As long as he saved up for a period of time, he would be able to afford a few vitality pills. This was only a grade 3 celestial pill, and its function was to assist in healing injuries. It was not something valuable. The people next to him also felt bored. They had all thought that Ning Cheng, a senior like him, would definitely come up with something really good. Unexpectedly, it was just a few vitality pills. Even though he was slightly disappointed, the black-faced youth was still very grateful. After all, a few vitality pills could be considered a small fortune. As he bowed and retreated, Ning Cheng's voice suddenly resounded in his mind. "Among those spiritual nourishing pills, there is also a harmonizing celestial pill. Whether you can advance to the celestial bridge realm or not, it will depend on your own luck." The black-faced youth trembled slightly, but quickly returned to normal. He forcefully suppressed the surprise and excitement in his heart and left the merchant building. He never thought that he would be able to obtain a harmonizing celestial pill. The harmonizing celestial pill was a medicinal pill that could help one advance from the Celestial Gatherer realm to the Celestial Bridge realm. Even if one had enough celestial coins, one might not necessarily be able to buy such a medicinal pill. Moreover, he couldn't afford it. There were so many Celestial Gatherer rogue cultivators in the Devouring Bone Sea. Didn't they all come here to advance to the Celestial Bridge realm? At this moment, his heart was filled with gratitude towards Ning Cheng. He knew that Ning Cheng was protecting him. If Ning Cheng had directly given him a harmonizing celestial pill, he might not have survived until tomorrow morning. After getting the news about the purple light treasure essence, Ning Cheng just wanted to set out to sea as soon as possible. He glanced at Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan at the door but didn't speak. Instead, he turned around and left. Headmaster. Seeing Ning Cheng walk out of the merchant house, Lei Junfeng quickly called out from behind. Ning Cheng did not stop. While walking forward, he spoke out in a cold voice, "What's the matter? Moreover, you are not disciples of the Rainbow Fall Sword sect, do not call me sect master." Lei Junfeng hurriedly took a few steps forward. "Senior, the reason why we came to the Devouring Bone Sea is because we obtained a Starry Sky positional ball. Xiaolan and I no longer have a chance, so I want to give this locale ball to Senior." Lei Junfeng really did not dare to call Ning Cheng as sect master, but instead changed the way he addressed him as senior. Ning Cheng took the positional ball from Lei Junfeng's hands in doubt, and swept out with his spiritual consciousness. Immediately, Ning Cheng's expressions changed slightly. This was a starry sky map. This starry sky map somewhat resembled the starry sky positional map on his starry sky wheel, but it was much more detailed than the starry sky positional map on the starry sky wheel. As Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept over it, he felt as if he was looking at a miniature version of the starry sky. On this miniature version of the starry sky positional ball, Ning Cheng easily found the location of the Devouring Bone Sea. However, it didn't label the Devouring Bone Sea, but only an uninhabited planet. On this uninhabited planet, there was a sea. In the middle of the sea, there were two words, Treasure 1. According to the Starry Sky positional ball, this uninhabited planet was obviously the Devouring Bone Star, and the sea inside the sea was the Devouring Bone Sea. As long as one's spiritual consciousness communicated with this Starry Sky positional ball, one could easily find this location in the sea. Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan had low cultivation, yet they could find this place through this Starry Sky positional ball. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness left the Starry Sky positional ball in his hand and nodded, "This thing is useful to me, and with your cultivation, you can't find this place. I won't take your things for free." While talking, Ning Cheng raised his hand and shot out two medicinal pills. The two medicinal pills seemed to have eyes and fell into Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan's mouths. Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan felt the broken meridians in their bodies instantly condense, and their lost celestial essence cultivation also recovered in an instant. The two immediately understood that this was a top-grade healing medicinal pill. If Ning Cheng hadn't given them this medicinal pill, even if they were in the Heaven's Mandate realm, they wouldn't have been able to obtain this kind of medicinal pill with their current strength. In just a dozen breaths, Lei Junfeng and Bei Xiaolan's cultivation completely recovered. Even the broken meridians under Bright South Celestial River King quickly recovered. "Many thanks for Senior's life-saving grace." Lei Junfeng knelt on the ground and spoke with a trembling voice. To be honest, the moment Bright South Celestial River King stopped them, he knew that he was finished. He didn't expect to survive in this desperate situation. Ning Cheng spoke with a calm voice, "You don't have to thank me for saving your life. I have nothing to do with you. It's just an exchange of benefits. With your cold temperament, I wouldn't have saved you if it wasn't for the exchange of benefits." Lei Junfeng pursed his lips and spoke with a hoarse voice, "I know that Senior looks down on me, but I do have an extreme temperament. When Xiaolan and I secretly fell in love with each other in the Rainbow Fall Sword sect, Dan Wenyao forced Xiaolan to marry him even though Xiaolan didn't agree. Rui Baishan also fully supported Dan Wenyao. That's why Xiaolan and I decided to take revenge and leave the sect." Ning Cheng waved his hand, and his figure flashed before disappearing into the depths of the Devouring Bone Sea. Ning Cheng hated people like Lei Junfeng. To take revenge, he used his woman as a spy and even colluded with the enemy. He had gotten his revenge, but he had also taken back a black and oily green hat. Seeing Ning Cheng leave after restoring their cultivation, Lei Junfeng's face turned a little gloomy. He had only achieved half of his goal. He had imagined Ning Cheng sheltering them, or even giving them some benefits, but it didn't happen. "Junfeng, it's already very good that we could preserve our cultivation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to leave the devouring bone star and could only wait for death here. Bei Xiaolan and Lei Junfeng had been together for many years and naturally understood Lei Junfeng's thoughts. Lei Junfeng's expressions changed a few times before he sighed and said, "Let's go, Xiaolan. One day, I will also stand at the top of the starry sky and let those who looked down on me and bullied me see that I, Lei Junfeng, am also a powerhouse." After entering the devouring bone sea, Ning Qing encountered some whirlpools from time to time. These whirlpools had a strong rotational suction force, and if one was not careful, one would end up getting sucked into the sea. No wonder few people came to the depths of the devouring bone sea. Except for people with his cultivation, if ordinary cultivators came here, as long as they encountered a whirlpool, they would have no chance of survival. Even with Ning Cheng's speed, it took him 2 days to reach the location of the jade strip given to him by the black-faced youth. After arriving here, Ning Cheng finally understood why this place contained the purple light treasure essence. This place was a volcanic island, and Ning Cheng could feel the terrifying heat coming from it even before he got close to the edge of the island. The water at the edge of the island was boiling after being assimilated by the terrifying temperature. The steam vaguely covered the volcanic island. If it weren't for the devouring bone sea's sheer size, which allowed water to continuously fill up the evaporated edges of the island, the devouring bone sea might have dried up by now. Ning Cheng landed on the volcanic island and blocked the terrifying heat with his domain. Ning Cheng couldn't help but marvel at it. Under such terrifying heat, even an eternal-level expert couldn't enter the center of the island without a powerful defensive weapon or a powerful body-forging cultivation. Ning Cheng didn't dare to bring out his twin wings of the heavenly clouds. His twin wings of the heavenly clouds couldn't withstand this kind of heat without undergoing nirvana. Ning Cheng carefully moved towards the center of the volcanic island, and the temperature kept rising. Ning Cheng's domain crackled under the heat, as if it would collapse at any time. Even so, Ning Cheng didn't plan to bring out the everlasting Blue Thunder City. He just operated the body-forging cultivation method while moving forward. Body-forging in a place with such terrifying heat was the best option. Bang! With a soft sound, just as Ning Cheng was about to reach the center of the volcanic island, his clothes suddenly shattered and turned into nothingness. A dazzling purple light shot out, and the purple light, along with the terrifying heat, bombarded Ning Cheng's body. Under Ning Cheng's body-forging cultivation method, this tearing heat continuously refined and transformed into a powerful corporeal body. Ning Cheng's pace grew slower and slower, and after an unknown amount of time, his bones once again gave out crackling sounds. Ning Cheng stopped. He originally came here to look for the purple light treasure essence, but he didn't expect that his body-forging cultivation would advance to the middle stage of the starry sky body before he even reached the depths of this volcanic island. Feeling the power of his corporeal body, Ning Cheng opened his eyes and felt delighted. This definitely wasn't an ordinary flame. No matter how powerful his body-forging cultivation method was, an ordinary flame wouldn't have helped him advance this quickly. Ning Cheng's gaze then shifted to a purple crystal in front of him, which was the purple light treasure essence. At this time, Ning Cheng felt sure that Wu Hong didn't obtain the purple light treasure essence in this place. If Wu Hong could come here, then he wouldn't have obtained just one purple light treasure essence. Ning Cheng hadn't even started looking for it, yet he had already obtained a purple light treasure essence. From this, it showed how many purple light treasure essences there were in this place. Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed the purple light treasure essence and put it into the jade box. Just as he was about to continue looking around, he suddenly felt a sense of vigilance in his heart. Was there someone nearby? Ning Cheng quickly took out a set of robes and put them on. His domain and his body-forging shield blocked the terrifying heat around him. Chapter 748. The fiery flame waves continued to rush towards Ning Cheng in waves. Even with Ning Cheng's middle-stage starry sky body's powerful body-forging cultivation, he still felt restless. As long as he relaxed even a little, the horrifying heat waves would tear through his domain and shield. The aura came from the center of the island. After walking a few feet, Ning Cheng had to bring out the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Ning Cheng could reach the center of the island without bringing out the Blue Thunder Fort, but he only wore ordinary clothes, which couldn't block the heat at all. Unless it was a last resort, under normal circumstances, Ning Cheng was not willing to face a stranger naked. After bringing out the Blue Thunder Fort, the pressure on Ning Cheng suddenly decreased. After a dozen breaths, Ning Cheng finally saw the aura he felt. It was indeed a person, and a woman at that. This woman was completely naked, and Ning Cheng couldn't find even a single flaw in her perfect curves. It felt as if the flames had taken away all the excess parts of her body, leaving behind only a masterpiece of heaven and earth. She stood in the middle of the flames at the center of the island, letting the colorless flames surround and scour her body without moving an inch. Ning Cheng was still a few feet away from the center of the island and had the protection of the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Even with his middle-stage Starry Sky body's body-forging cultivation, he still felt a little overwhelmed. Moreover, this woman didn't even have an inch of gauze on her body. Yet, despite the horrifying flames lingering around her body, she didn't feel anything. The horrifying colorless flames kept brushing past the woman's white body, but they couldn't even leave a mark on her body. Ning Cheng didn't have the mood to appreciate this woman's body. In his opinion, this woman had at least reached the peak of the Starry Sky body. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to remain unscathed in such a horrifying place. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng secretly felt shocked. His body-forging speed, in addition to his tenacity, had a lot to do with the mysterious yellow origin and the mysterious yellow formless. In this place, he actually saw a woman with a body-forging cultivation much higher than his own. This woman had already reached the peak of the Starry Sky body, yet she still cultivated so desperately. In terms of pure willpower, she was also tougher than him. Ning Cheng carefully retreated. He didn't want to alarm such a powerhouse. It would be fine if he met a woman who was easy to talk to. But if he met an unreasonable woman with a higher cultivation than him, he might even suffer a loss. However, Ning Cheng only took a step back when he felt something wrong. This woman was a bit strange. To be able to stand in the center of the island and temper one's body, one's cultivation was definitely not inferior to his. Even if he was tempering his body here, he would be alarmed if someone approached him from such a close distance. However, this woman only had her aura circulating, and she didn't seem to be startled at all. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on the lower part of the woman's body. He did not look at the private parts of the woman's body. What he looked at was the light blue-colored stone slab that the woman was standing on. When his divine sense fell on this slate, it was instantly weakened by the terrifying temperature. The flames on this volcanic island came from this light green stone slab. This woman dared to stand on this stone slab to temper her body. How terrifying was her cultivation and physical body. Ning Cheng suddenly had an impulse in his heart. He wanted this slate. His spiritual sense carefully landed on the woman's body, and sure enough, just as he had expected, the woman's consciousness was completely blurred, and her primordial spirit was beginning to dissipate. Ning Cheng slowly gave out a sigh. He understood that this woman should have been unable to control such a powerful temperature in the process of body forging. As a result, he was injured by the fire poison when he tried to break through to the next realm. In order to save her life, she had forcibly sealed off her six senses, which was a result of her instinctive body-forging cultivation method. One could say that if no one helped her, after her primordial spirit dissipated, her corporeal body would also end up burning, and she would eventually fall. Initially, Ning Cheng was still hesitating whether he should take away this blue stone or not, but seeing that this woman was about to fall, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved. If he took away this blue stone, it would also be equivalent to helping this woman. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to jump on the edge of the blue stone slab in the center of the island. The terrifying temperature swept over, causing Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder City to give out ka-ka sounds and instantly shrink. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and was just about to trap this blue stone slab with restrictions when he felt the celestial river in his sea of consciousness excitedly jumping around. When he picked up the purple light treasure essence, the celestial river had not jumped around. He did not expect that this slate would make the celestial river jump around. Ning Cheng felt happy and immediately brought out the celestial river. the celestial river turned into a blue light and fell onto the blue stone slab. Ning Cheng and the celestial river had a spiritual connection, which allowed him to clearly feel the changes in the celestial river. The two golden lights outside the celestial river flame quickly turned into three. Although it could not transform into a fourth, Ning Cheng could still feel the celestial river continuously evolving. This bluestone slab was definitely a fire-attributed treasure. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to take out the polar star nucleus. As soon as he took out the polar star nucleus, the celestial river attached to the bluestone slab immediately shot out a blue light. The blue light flashed and swept away the celestial river flame in Ning Cheng's hand. After a dozen breaths, the celestial river flame erupted with a temperature even more terrifying than the bluestone slab. Ning Cheng quickly picked up the girl standing on the bluestone slab. Otherwise, under the eruption of the celestial river flame, even if this girl was in an unconscious body-forging state, she would still be burnt to a crisp. As the temperature of the celestial river flame grew higher and higher, it even sucked in the surrounding flames. Ning Cheng had a spiritual connection with the celestial river flame, which allowed him to clearly feel that the celestial river flame was growing stronger and stronger. As time passed, Ning Cheng completely forgot about the woman in his arms and looked at the celestial river flame in surprise. After the celestial river flame evolved into a starry sky flame, it produced 4 golden lights. However, the celestial river flame did not stop there, and a 5th golden ring slowly formed on the surface of the flame. After another hour, the celestial river flame gave out a crisp sound and fell into Ning Cheng's palm. It looked like a starry sky flower bud that had just bloomed in the morning. Ning Cheng took out a piece of robe and wrapped it around the woman before putting it aside. He then looked at the celestial river flame in his hand with joy. At this moment, his attention was completely focused on the celestial river flame. The celestial river flame had finally grown to a level that he was extremely satisfied with. Feeling the powerful power contained within the celestial river flame, Ning Cheng suspected that if he used all his strength to blast out the celestial river flame, even a planet would collapse under the celestial river flame. With the flame growing to such a degree, Ning Cheng only had one desire in his heart, that is, to find a place to refine the Nirvana spear in his hand and refine it into his own weapon. Since he started to wander around, he had not found a weapon that he could use, which made him feel very distressed. The celestial river flame used the bluestone slab in the center of the volcanic island to evolve. Although the temperature of the volcanic island seemed to have dropped a bit, it still remained scorching hot. Ning Cheng did not care about the woman he had thrown to the side and continued to form restrictions on the bluestone slab. By now, he felt sure that this bluestone slab was not an ordinary treasure. Ning Cheng's current attainments in array formations were infinitely close to a starry sky grade 9 array formation. In other words, he would soon become a starry sky grade 9 array formation emperor. Although the bluestone slab emitted an astonishing flame temperature, under Ning Cheng's array formation restrictions, the temperature still slowly compressed. After half a day, Ning Cheng finally sealed the bluestone slab completely and put it into the 5 elements array formation in the mysterious yellow bead. The bluestone slab contained a terrifying temperature, so Ning Cheng did not dare to put this bluestone slab in his true spirit world. In case the bluestone slab's temperature erupted, wouldn't it destroy everything in his true spirit world? After Ning Cheng put away the bluestone slab, he felt the changes in his surroundings. The terrifying temperature of the volcanic island seemed to have been switched off, and it cooled down in an instant. Ning Cheng secretly rejoiced in his heart. Sure enough, it was this bluestone slab. Then he saw the pieces of purple light treasure essence around him. After the celestial river flame advanced to a grade 5 starry sky flame, the purple light treasure essence no longer had much use for Ning Cheng. However, Ning Cheng would never let go of such a worldly treasure. Soon, he collected nearly 100 pieces of purple light treasure essence. After Ning Cheng took away the bluestone slab emitting flames, it felt as if it had lost its bones. The bottom of the island started to emit crackling sounds. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and understood that the island was about to sink. He grabbed the unconscious female cultivator who only knew how to operate a body-forging cultivation method and rushed out of the volcanic island. Not long after Ning Cheng left the volcanic island melted at the fastest speed, just like a piece of dry soil falling into the water. An hour later, Ning Cheng stopped on another island. He placed the female cultivator on the side and sealed her with an array formation. He couldn't wait to bring out the celestial river flame and then took out the Nirvana spear. He didn't know what materials were used to craft the Nirvana spear, but he believed that if he used the Nirvana spear's materials and the twilight sand, he could craft a top-grade spear. The celestial river flame fell on the Nirvana spear and made crackling sounds. To Ning Cheng's disappointment, even if his celestial river flame advanced to a grade 5 starry sky flame, it still had no effect on the Nirvana spear. When the flame fell on the Nirvana spear, it couldn't even cause a ripple, let alone refine the Nirvana spear. A day later, Ning Cheng put away the Nirvana spear in disappointment. He really couldn't understand how a spear handle, obtained from a place without any cultivators, could turn out to be so hard. From the looks of it, he would have to continue to endure the torment of not having a suitable weapon. Opening the restriction again, he took out the woman he rescued. Ning Cheng decided to wake her up first and then go their separate ways. Previously, Ning Cheng had been focused on the advancement of the celestial river flame and refining the Nirvana spear. As such, he didn't care about this woman's appearance. He only knew that this woman had a perfect body. It wasn't surprising. Body forging cultivators, whether male or female, all had perfect figures. Now that Ning Cheng noticed this woman's appearance, he couldn't help but feel even more amazed. Not only did this woman have a perfect body, but she also had a perfect face. Long-term body forging had caused her hair and eyebrows to turn yellow. However, with a beautiful jade-like nose, slightly closed soft lips, and a white oval face, it did not look out of place. Apart from Yu Qing and Qianghua, Ning Cheng really couldn't find any woman more beautiful than her. After hesitating for a while, Ning Cheng took out a leaf from the rootless green bamboo. He tore the leaf in half and put it into the female cultivator's mouth. This female cultivator's essence spirit had drifted around for a long time, causing it to turn unstable. To deal with unstable essence spirits or even losing their essence spirits, the rootless green bamboo was the most effective and simplest method. In just an incense stick worth of time, the female cultivator opened her eyes. She suddenly sat up. Her eyes swept around, while her spiritual consciousness also stretched out. Soon, her gaze fell on Ning Cheng. "Did you save me?" Ning Cheng felt a little strange. Didn't they say that the first thing a woman would do when she woke up was to check her body for any abnormalities? This woman obviously wasn't wearing a veil. Moreover, she was wearing one of his clothes. Why did she turn a blind eye to it and instead ask if he saved her? Chapter 749. Ning Cheng nodded honestly. "That's right, I saved you. Your body forging had fallen into an unconscious state, and your essence spirit had also dissipated. If I hadn't helped you, you might have died." Ning Cheng didn't want to claim credit for himself. Rather, he feared that this woman would use him as an excuse to offend her. It wasn't like he hadn't seen such a thing happen before. He had also saved Nalan Rushua in the past. But in the end, not only did this woman not know how to be grateful, but she also almost asked her master to kill him. "Thank you, my name is Yan Xishuang." After the woman finished speaking, she unexpectedly stood up. Ning Cheng initially thought that he would be long-winded, but he didn't expect this female cultivator named Yan Xishuang to not care about it at all. Not only that, but even if he was here, she would still dare to stand up without any clothes on her body. Yan Xishuang didn't care about Ning Cheng's surprised gaze. Instead, she used a few dirt removal techniques on herself in front of Ning Cheng, and a set of clothes appeared in her hands. Even if it didn't matter to him, Ning Cheng couldn't just watch a woman put on clothes in front of him. He still hadn't let go of his thoughts and could only smile awkwardly. "I'll go first." However, Ning Cheng still had some doubts in his heart. He clearly didn't see anything on this female cultivator, yet this female cultivator could take out something. The only possibility was that this female cultivator, like him, had a space-type weapon that could be stored in her sea of consciousness. "Wait a minute, I don't know your name yet." The female cultivator didn't take long to put on her clothes. After saying this, she had already started tying her skirt. My name is Ning Cheng, goodbye. After Ning Cheng finished speaking, he quickened his pace. He didn't like women like Nalan Rushue who would flip out without understanding the situation. Similarly, he didn't like talking to such a seemingly casual woman. Yan Shishuang had already put on her clothes and spoke with a calm voice, "You've already seen me, so what's the harm in looking at me again? Do I have to get angry at you and avoid your clothes? Is it because of this that you think I'm not a casual woman?" Ning Cheng looked at Yan Shishuang in surprise. At this time, she wore a light blue dress, which made her look even more refined and full of spiritual energy. In just a short time, her sparse yellow hair turned dense and black, and even her eyelashes became clear. He was shocked by this woman's subtle observation. She could guess what he was thinking from his attitude. He could also read Yan Shishuang's thoughts from her eyes, which could only be described in one word: hypocrisy. Ning Cheng once again gave an awkward smile. He found that he really was a bit hypocritical. Fortunately, Yan Shishuang didn't continue talking about it. Instead, she looked at Ning Cheng and asked, "Did you take away that Nirvana Bluestone?" Nirvana Bluestone? Ning Cheng quickly understood Yan Shishuang's meaning. The bluestone that he took away was called the Heaven-Burning Bluestone. This name sounded really powerful. "Yes, it was indeed me who took it," Ning Cheng directly admitted. He had rescued Yan Shishuang, but this place wasn't too far from the volcanic island. With a sweep of his spiritual consciousness, he could see that the volcanic island had disappeared. Yan Shishuang didn't find it strange. She just took out 2 stone stools, sat down on one, and motioned for Ning Cheng to sit down. Ning Cheng sat down calmly. After Yan Shishuang's essence spirit stabilized, Ning Cheng could clearly see her cultivation. She was a late-stage eternal powerhouse. Even if she was a late-stage eternal powerhouse, Ning Cheng wouldn't feel afraid. Ning Cheng didn't know what the Nirvana Bluestone was, but he knew that it definitely wasn't an ordinary thing. Since it wasn't an ordinary thing, he wouldn't hand it over casually. Saving Yan Shishuang's life was to make up for it. He didn't owe anyone anything, so he could take it with a peace of mind. Even if he didn't take it now, he could still take it away after Yan Shishuang fell. Yan Shishuang's eyes flashed with a complicated look, and she hesitated for a while before speaking. "I went to that place for the Nirvana Bluestone. In fact, if I hadn't refined that bluestone for many years, you wouldn't have been able to seal it and take it away." Ning Cheng only knew that the flames from the Nirvana Bluestone were extremely powerful. But he didn't know that this bluestone had been refined for many years. It showed that Yan Shishuang not only refined her body but also refined the bluestone. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Yan Shishuang spoke up again, "I'll give you a high-rank starry sky spirit vein and 10 million permanent essence pills for your bluestone. What do you think?" After hearing Yan Shishuang's offer, Ning Cheng only had one thought in his mind. That is, this woman really was rich. With so many things, he might even advance to the middle-level life and death realm. At this moment, Ning Cheng felt a little tempted. But he quickly understood that since the other party took out so many good things for the Nirvana Bluestone, it meant that the value of the Nirvana Bluestone was much higher than he had imagined. "I'm sorry, but I have a flame that needs this stone to help me advance. I also like this stone a lot, but I can't choose to exchange it with you," Ning Cheng said with an apologetic tone. From Yan Shishuang's words, he understood that Yan Shishuang played a part in him obtaining this bluestone so easily. Seeing Ning Cheng not willing to exchange, Yan Shishuang felt helpless and said, "Then can you lend me this stone for a while? I promise to return it to you." Ning Cheng smiled. This woman really was naive. They didn't know each other at all. Besides, he was her life-saving benefactor. Yet, this woman didn't even think about how to repay her life-saving benefactor. Instead, she wanted to borrow his things. This time, Ning Cheng refused without hesitation. He didn't even bother to say any polite words and directly said no. "If that's the case, then forget it." Yan Shishuang stood up. After walking a few meters, Yan Xishuang stopped again. I have an important place to go. In this place, we might get a lot of wealth, or even countless treasures. I'm willing to take you there now. But because I found this place, I want 70% of the things inside. Ning Qing showed a faint smile. I don't want to take advantage of you. You can go there yourself and take 100%. Goodbye. After saying that, Ning Cheng's figure flashed and instantly rushed out of the island before disappearing without a trace. Although this woman thanked him for saving her life, she didn't take out anything substantial. If she didn't have anything good, then forget it. But this woman obviously wasn't someone who didn't have anything good. Now that she wanted to join forces with him to go to a place with treasures, it definitely wasn't because he saved her. Most likely, she needed his help. She needed the help of her life-saving benefactor, yet only gave him 30% of the things. It would be strange if Ning Qing showed any interest. Besides, he also needed to go to a place, the location of the Starry Sky positional ball given to him by Lei Junfeng. That place was in the Devouring Bone Sea, and it was labeled as Treasure 1. With the word treasure in it, it might be the place where the treasures were hidden. He didn't even have the time to look for treasures, so why would he join forces with others to ask for 30% of the things? Yan Xishuang on seeing Ning Qing leave so quickly sighed and muttered to herself, without the Nirvana Bluestone, I don't believe I can't get in. Although the Devouring Bone Sea was vast, it was only for ordinary cultivators. For cultivators like Ning Qing, who didn't face any danger in the Devouring Bone Sea, the Devouring Bone Sea was nothing to him. Under the guidance of the Starry Sky positional ball, Ning Qing didn't take any detours. On the way to the location of Treasure 1, Ning Qing encountered a few sea mists. Ordinary cultivators would choose to bypass the sea mists when they saw them. Ning Qing naturally wouldn't bypass them. Since it was a place with treasures, it naturally wouldn't be easy to find. If it were so easy to find, they wouldn't have waited for him to find it. Even if Ning Cheng had a middle-stage Starry Sky body and had the Starry Sky positional map, Ning Cheng's speed slowed down after continuously entering the sea mists. 2 days later, Ning Cheng stopped. According to the Starry Sky positional map, he had already arrived at the location of Treasure 1. But to Ning Cheng's surprise, Treasure 1's location was just a sea that looked different from the surroundings. The reason why it looked different from the surroundings was because the seawater in this area was dark gray in color. This dark gray seawater was completely different from the dark blue seawater on the periphery. Moreover, the dark gray seawater and the dark blue seawater were clearly separated, as if they were cut by a knife. But this wasn't the most shocking thing to Ning Cheng. What shocked him the most was that this dark gray seawater was nearly a foot lower than the dark blue seawater outside. Despite the wind and waves of the seawater outside, the dark gray seawater remained calm. Not a single drop of seawater from the outside could penetrate the dark gray seawater. This dark gray seawater not only couldn't penetrate it with his spiritual consciousness, but it also gave him a dangerous feeling. Was this the Treasure 1? What good things could there be in this place? Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment before taking out a boat he refined and throwing it into the dark gray seawater. He wanted to go over and have a look. But just in case, he decided to stand on the boat first. However, after the boat landed on the dark gray seawater, it slowly sank. Ning Cheng couldn't believe what he saw. The boat should have been floating on the water, but now it was slowly sinking. Moreover, it was sinking steadily, without any signs of overturning. It completely violated some common sense. At this moment, Ning Cheng couldn't help but think of a sentence from Journey to the West, 800 miles of quicksand realm, 3,000 miles of water, goose feathers float, reed flowers sink to the bottom. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng found a feather and threw it into the dark gray seawater. Reality proved that this sentence was indeed true. That light feather slowly sank down without the slightest hesitation. You actually followed me? A slightly dissatisfied voice arrived. Ning Cheng didn't need to look back to know that it was Yan Xishuang. Although Yan Xishuang hadn't spoken, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already detected her. Fairy Yan, I think I should be the one saying that, right? Ning Cheng turned back and spoke with a calm voice. Yan Xishuang paused for a moment, and her face turned a little red. That's right, it was obviously Ning Cheng who had arrived here first. How could it be Ning Cheng who had followed her? Ah, I'm sorry. Yan Xishuang quickly understood what was going on. You also know about the 3,000 weak water rivers in the devouring bone sea. Is this really called the 3,000 weak water rivers? Ning Cheng asked in disbelief with his mouth wide open. He then asked again, is there another name for it called Quicksand River? Quicksand River. Yan Xishuang frowned. She had never heard of this name before. Chapter 750. No, I've never heard of that name. Can I ask you how you know about the 3,000 weak water river? Yan Xishuang added. Ning Cheng chuckled, I didn't know that this was the 3,000 weak water river. I obtained a starry sky positional ball, which contained the location of this place. It's just that this water looks a little strange. Do you have any way to get in? Yan Xishuang replied calmly, I naturally have a way. Well, since you're here, let's cooperate. How about we split the things in this place equally? Ning Cheng shook his head and spoke, I don't need to cooperate with anyone. Everyone does their own thing, and what they get is what they get. Saying that, Ning Cheng tried to enter the weak water river. He felt that this woman, Yan Xishuang, wasn't very sincere and always spoke with reservations. Wait. Yan Xishuang quickly stopped Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng looked at Yan Xishuang in doubt, you can also go in. Since everyone has come here, it's naturally up to your own abilities. Yan Xishuang shook her head, Ning Cheng, if you continue like this, even if you have a full circle eternal realm cultivation and a late-stage starry sky body, the 3,000 weak water will turn you into nothingness. Hearing Yan Xishuang's words, Ning Cheng quickly stopped his movements and stood on his flight-type weapon again. At the same time, he asked, why? Haven't you heard of the 3,000 weak water? Yan Xishuang asked. Ning Cheng shook his head, he had never heard of the 3,000 weak waters. Most of his knowledge was pieced together from different places. The biggest harvest was the fundamentals of crafting artifact crafting that Zhongli Baiqi had given him. If not for that fundamentals of crafting artifact crafting, Ning Cheng would not have known about many more things. However, that book didn't have any records of the Nirvana Bluestone or the 3,000 weak water. On Earth, Ning Cheng had heard of the 3,000 weak water, but he was self-aware, and was very clear that the 3,000 weak water that he had heard about on Earth and this should not be the same thing. Then you must have never heard of the innate 10 waters. Yan Xishuang said. Ning Cheng once again shook his head, cupped his fists and spoke, I still need to consult Fairy Yan. Cultivating until now, Ning Cheng was very clear about where his weaknesses lay. He didn't have a master, so there were many things he didn't understand. For things that he did not understand, Ning Cheng would immediately ask. If the other party was unwilling to speak, then so be it. If he was willing to speak, then he would understand a little more. Yan Xishuang didn't hide it, I've only heard of 5 of them, and I don't know about the rest. The first type of water is said to be impossible to obtain. It's called the 5 elements divine water. Ning Cheng was surprised in his heart. 5 elements spirit water, wasn't that the water he wanted to refine into the spirit transformation spear? This water was the water that condensed in the world of creation the moment it was formed. Apart from the treasure of fortune and the living soil, who else could possess this kind of water? Right, the book that Zhongli Baiqi gave him contained information about the 5 elements spirit water, so why didn't it mention the 3,000 weak water? As Ning Cheng thought of this, he immediately used his spiritual consciousness to communicate with his book. Then, he was surprised to find that the last page of the book was missing. That was the page that recorded how to make the soul transformation spear. Yan Xishuang didn't know that Ning Cheng had so many thoughts running through his mind in such a short time. She still spoke up, I don't know about the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ones. The 5th one is the seeking heart water. Ning Cheng sighed, he had never heard of this kind of water before. The 6th is the 3,000 weak water. Yan Shishuang finished speaking and looked at Ning Cheng. Now you should know how amazing the origin of this water is, right? Ning Cheng nodded in agreement. Thinking about the heaven-defying nature of the 5 elements spirit water, he understood that this 3,000 week water wasn't simple. How could it be ranked alongside the 5 elements spirit water in the innate 10 waters? What about the other 4 types of water? Ning Cheng asked again. Yan Shishuang continued, the 7th one is called the indefinite black water. I don't know about the 8th and 9th ones, but the 10th one is called the single essence heavy water. Single essence heavy water. Ning Cheng repeated the words in amazement. Yan Shishuang asked in doubt, have you seen this water before? Ning Cheng spoke the truth, yes, I've seen it before. I've seen a drop of single essence heavy water, and I also know that this water is very heavy. A drop of single essence heavy water is equivalent to the weight of a small planet. It's a supreme material for crafting artifacts. This also made Ning Cheng speechless. His book only contained the 5 elements spirit water, which ranked first, and the single essence heavy water, which ranked last. When she heard Ning Cheng say that he had seen a drop of single essence heavy water, Yan Shishuang couldn't help but feel a little moved. But when she heard Ning Cheng say that he had only seen a drop of it, she immediately returned to normal and said, a drop of single essence heavy water is nothing. As you said, it has no other use besides for crafting artifacts. If you had this much single essence heavy water, maybe you could dominate the entire starry sky. After saying that, Yan Shishuang pointed to the 3,000 week water rivers in front of her. Ning Cheng spoke up speechlessly, a drop of single essence heavy water is equivalent to a planet, and this river is equivalent to a river, he. After Ning Cheng chuckled, he didn't continue. Yan Shishuang understood Ning Cheng's meaning and spoke up calmly, do you think that it's the weight of many drops of single essence heavy water added up? That's right. Ning Cheng looked at Yan Shishuang in doubt. If it was calculated according to 1 drop, how many drops were there in this 3,000 week water rivers? Each drop was equivalent to a planet, and how many planets were there in this place? The total weight of these drops couldn't even be measured with data. You're wrong. Yan Shishuang replied with a calm voice, it's countless times heavier than you think. It's not just a matter of 1 plus 1. As for the reason, I don't know. After a pause, she continued, that's not what we're talking about. In this positional plane's starry sky, there shouldn't be so much single essence heavy water. Since there shouldn't be so much single essence heavy water, why is there so much 3,000 week water? If I remember correctly, you just said that 3,000 week water ranks 6th among the 10 innate waters. Ning Cheng immediately spoke up. Yan Shishuang showed a faint smile, you're wrong again. If this place was filled with 3,000 week water, then the devouring bone star wouldn't have survived, and we wouldn't have been able to come here. Besides, there's only 1 drop of 3,000 week water here. 1 drop. Such a big drop. As if knowing what Ning Cheng was thinking, Yan Shishuang spoke up directly, it's not this big drop, but a fist-sized drop of 3,000 week water under this seawater. Because this drop of 3,000 week water fell here, it caused this area to turn dark gray and even collapse. What's the use of 3,000 week water? Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel tempted when he thought of the 3,000 week water on the same ranking as the 5 elements spirit water. Even if it was just a drop, he still looked forward to it. Yan Shishuang explained in a very careful manner, don't look at this 3,000 week water stream as ordinary and without any abnormalities. In fact, the unrefined weak water is as cold as ice and can freeze everything between heaven and earth. Moreover, it's like nothingness, and nothing that falls on it would suffer any damage. It's just that if you don't go in, you can't feel it at all. After refining the 3,000 weak water, it could become his own treasure. This treasure generates its power according to the mood of the opponent. If the opponent fears the cold, this weak water treasure will turn into the coldest thing in the world. If the opponent fears flames, this weak water treasure will turn into the most terrifying flame. Of course, this isn't the biggest role of the 3,000 weak water. If the 3,000 weak water could be added to a weapon, it would bring out its real power. It's one of the most powerful artifact crafting auxiliary materials in the world. In addition, the reason why I want to cooperate with you is that only your Nirvana Bluestone can enter this 3,000 week water stream. Otherwise, entering it would only result in death. Yan Xishuang seemed to have sensed Ning Cheng's character and decided to explain the role of the Nirvana Bluestone first. She had a hunch that Ning Cheng wasn't the kind of person who wouldn't cooperate with her after knowing how to enter the weak water stream. Ning Cheng didn't expect the 3,000 weak water to have such an important role. He took a deep breath and spoke, "Fairy Yan, you just said that there's only one drop of 3,000 weak water. Even if we cooperate, how do we divide this weak water?" Yan Xishuang showed a slight smile. "I don't have the ability to take away this drop of 3,000 weak water. Therefore, this weak water naturally belongs to you. As for the rest, we can divide it equally. 3,000 weak water doesn't fall into a place without treasures. Since this drop of 3,000 weak water fell here, it means that this place contains top-grade treasures." "Okay, I agree," Ning Qing said without hesitation. He felt that Yan Xishuang's words contained a bit of a trap. But since Yan Xishuang didn't want this drop of 3,000 weak water, what was the point of being polite about it? As for the idea of kicking Yan Xishuang away after knowing how to enter the weak water stream, Ning Qing didn't even think about it. Sure enough, Yan Xishuang's eyes flashed with excitement. "Then you can take out the Nirvana Bluestone. As long as you throw this Nirvana Bluestone into the weak water stream in front of us, we can stand on it and sink directly to the bottom of the river." Now that they had reached an agreement, Ning Qing acted in a straightforward manner. He didn't speak any nonsense and took out the Nirvana Bluestone, removed the restrictions covering it, and threw it into the weak water stream. Even feathers would sink to the bottom of the river, so Ning Qing thought that if he threw this bluestone into the weak water stream, it would definitely sink to the bottom of the river. As for what to do next, Yan Xishuang definitely had a way. But to Ning Cheng's surprise, after he threw the bluestone into the weak water stream, the bluestone didn't sink on its own. Instead, it slowly sank. Yan Xishuang flew over the bluestone and called out to Ning Cheng, "Hurry up. Only by standing on this Nirvana Bluestone can you reach the bottom of the weak water stream." Ning Cheng also quickly flew over the Nirvana Bluestone. But as soon as he landed, a bone-chilling cold hit him. This kind of terrifying cold made Ning Cheng wonder if he could withstand it if he hadn't advanced to the middle stage starry sky body. The Nirvana Bluestone under his feet emitted waves of heat that neutralized the cold around him. "Your body forging cultivation is quite good. It's almost at the full circle of a starry sky body." Yan Xishuang's body forging cultivation was higher than Ning Cheng's. But even so, she still managed to condense some frost over her body. In fact, Ning Cheng only had a middle stage starry sky body. But Ning Cheng didn't answer Yan Xishuang's words. He thought that without this Nirvana Bluestone, if he jumped down rashly, apart from entering the mysterious yellow bead, the only other option would be to wait for death. Even the Nirvana Bluestone's terrifying heat waves couldn't completely block the cold of the 3,000 week water stream. In other words, if he and Yan Xishuang weren't experts with a starry sky body, even with the Nirvana Bluestone, they wouldn't be able to enter the weak water stream. Something's not right. My Nirvana Bluestone is melting. Ning Cheng quickly discovered the changes in the Nirvana Bluestone under his feet. It really was getting smaller and smaller. Maybe the Nirvana Bluestone would turn into nothingness before reaching the bottom of the river. Chapter 751. Yan Xishuang replied calmly, "This is just seawater contaminated by the weak water. If it were the real weak water, the Nirvana Bluestone would melt even faster. Of course, you don't have to worry. This bluestone is enough for us to get the treasure and get out of here." The deeper the Nirvana Bluestone sank, the faster it melted. The space arranged by Ning Cheng and Yan Xishuang also grew smaller and smaller. From this, one could imagine that without the help of the Nirvana Bluestone, even the space arranged by the two of them wouldn't be able to withstand the erosion of the weak water's chill. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and stared at Yan Xishuang before asking, "We haven't even gotten close to that drop of weak water, yet we already feel so uncomfortable." According to this situation, not to mention collecting that drop of weak water. Even getting close to it would be very difficult, right? You knew that I couldn't collect that drop of weak water, so you used my Nirvana Bluestone to come down? Yan Xishuang's eyes showed a slightly apologetic look. I said that I don't have the ability to take it. I'm not sure if you have the ability to take this drop of weak water. It was impossible to get close to the weak water unless you used the Nirvana Bluestone. But if you use the Nirvana Bluestone, I'm afraid we won't have a chance to go up. Because the closer the Nirvana Bluestone is to the weak water, the faster it will melt. That is to say, I can't take away that drop of weak water, and can only go treasure hunting with you. Ning Qing spoke in a somewhat unhappy tone. He had already guessed that there was something wrong with Yan Xishuang's words, but he didn't expect that the problem was that he couldn't take away the weak water. Yan Xishuang nodded and said, "Yes, you can't take that drop of weak water. Ruoshui will not land in a place without treasures. We will join hands to take away the treasures and divide them equally. We will not suffer any losses." Ning Qing spoke up in a calm voice, "That's because you don't want to suffer a loss. Even if I take out the Nirvana Bluestone, would this Nirvana Bluestone still be useful after we go up?" Yan Xishuang showed a faint smile. "Ning Qing, you think that way because you don't understand the most precious part of the Nirvana Bluestone. The most precious part of the Nirvana Bluestone was not this Bluestone, but the Nirvana Heart. The Nirvana Heart can upgrade the top-grade flame in the starry skies. As for to what extent, I can't even imagine it. As far as I know, the Nirvana Bluestone is very difficult to break. Only the 3,000 weak water can break it. I did indeed use your Nirvana Bluestone, but I also let you break it open and obtain the Nirvana Heart. The Nirvana Heart is a priceless treasure that cannot be measured by value. If you are willing to give me the Nirvana Heart, I would rather not have anything here." Ning Qing felt ecstatic after hearing Yan Xishuang's words. No wonder Yan Xishuang wanted to exchange so many good things for his blue stone. Apart from entering the 3,000 weak water river, the other reason was Nirvana's Heart. Could the Nirvana Heart upgrade the top-grade flame in the starry sky again? In other words, once his flame reached the grade 6 starry sky flame, could he continue to use the Nirvana Heart to upgrade his flame again? If you feel like you lost out, I can give you a starry sky spiritual vein. Yan Xishuang spoke with a calm voice. She felt that Ning Qing wasn't a person who would suffer a loss. Forget it. Ning Qing showed a smile. He placed a lot of importance on cultivation resources, and a starry sky spiritual vein was a priceless treasure for him. Even now, he didn't have any starry sky spiritual veins on him. He felt grateful that Yan Xishuang didn't hide the truth from him and even explained the role of the Nirvana Heart. Compared to the Nirvana Heart, what was a starry sky spiritual vein? If Yan Xishuang hadn't told him, he wouldn't have known that he had the Nirvana Heart. Perhaps he would have known about it later, but who knew how long it would take? His celestial river flame was already a grade 5 starry sky flame. As long as it advanced by one more level, it would advance to a grade 6 starry sky flame. At that time, he could use the Nirvana Heart to upgrade his celestial river flame. At that time, he wouldn't have to worry about the Nirvana spear not melting. Besides, if he and Yan Xishuang switched places, maybe he would have found a way to get Yan Xishuang to cooperate with him. However, he wouldn't play the same petty tricks as Yan Xishuang. He would speak frankly about the matter, and if she didn't agree, he would just forget about it. Cultivation opportunities had to be found by oneself. Sitting around and waiting would never yield results. Although Yan Xishuang's approach wasn't very aboveboard, it also wasn't a despicable plot. Seeing that Ning Qing didn't want to take advantage of her, Yan Xishuang felt a little embarrassed, but she didn't know what to say. This seawater was very deep, and although the Nirvana blue stone sank quickly, it still hadn't reached the bottom after 3 hours. "Are you a rogue cultivator?" Yan Xishuang felt that the atmosphere between the two of them sitting together was a little awkward, so she took the initiative to talk to Ning Qing. "I used to be, but now I belong to a sect." Ning Qing had just replied when a blue light swept over them. Yan Xishuang suddenly stood up. "We're at the bottom of the weak water river. As long as we head to a place with dense spirit qi." Yan Xishuang's words suddenly stopped. She, like Ning Cheng, stared in the direction of the blue light. The things under the green light were incomparably clear. Even the seawater that had been contaminated by the weak water could not obstruct their vision. Moreover, the seawater outside the blue light could still block the two's spiritual consciousness. What kind of blue light is this? It's so powerful that it can directly penetrate the 3,000 weak water and still shine so clearly. Ning Cheng spoke up in amazement. Yan Xishuang took in a deep breath. It's not completely weak water. It's seawater contaminated by weak water. Even so, this blue light is amazing. Let's go and have a look. Ning Cheng nodded, took out a few array flags and threw them next to the Nirvana bluestone. As the array flags melted, the Nirvana bluestone slowly moved towards the blue light. The direction of the blue light is in the direction of that drop of weak water. Strange, 3,000 weak water doesn't emit blue light. Yan Xishuang spoke up in doubt. Even if Yan Xishuang didn't say it, Ning Cheng could guess it. Because the Nirvana bluestone would melt faster as it moved in the direction of the blue light. Yan Xishuang was just about to stop Ning Cheng from moving forward when the scene in front of her shocked her once again. A fist-sized drop of dark gray water was suspended above a lotus petal. To be precise, it was suspended above a blue lotus petal. Ning Cheng had long since stopped, as he was shocked by the blue-colored lotus petals. He could clearly feel the aura of a good fortune treasure from this blue lotus petal. It turned out to be a good fortune lotus petal equivalent to the mysterious yellow bead. However, the good fortune aura contained within the drop of weak water couldn't leak out at all. This blue lotus petal is definitely a heavenly treasure. Otherwise, that drop of weak water wouldn't have fallen onto this lotus petal. Yan Xishuang spoke with a trembling voice. She only knew that 3,000 weak water wouldn't fall into a place without treasures. She initially thought that this drop of weak water would be in a starry sky spiritual vein or a large starry sky pill pond. But she never expected that this drop of weak water would fall onto a lotus petal. From this, she understood that this lotus petal was definitely a top-grade treasure. I want that blue lotus petal. Yan Xishuang spoke with a trembling voice before sighing. She knew that it would be difficult to take away that blue lotus petal. They couldn't even get close to this lotus petal. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. I'll try to take away that drop of weak water. But I want to tell you that even if you can take away this lotus petal, you can't take it away. Why? Do you want me to give you half? Yan Xishuang looked at Ning Cheng and asked. It didn't matter if they split it in half. Moreover, she guessed that this lotus petal was the only thing in this place and nothing else. Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment before speaking up. Have you heard of good fortune treasures? Yan Xishuang's eyes flashed with extreme shock. She immediately grabbed Ning Cheng's arm and spoke with a trembling voice. Ning Cheng, did you say that this lotus petal is a good fortune treasure? Ning Cheng smiled in his heart. There's finally something you don't know about. Although he understood that Yan Xishuang didn't know that this blue lotus petal was a good fortune treasure, it was because the drop of weak water concealed the good fortune aura. Unlike him, who had the mysterious yellow bead. Yes, if I'm not wrong, this lotus petal is a fragment of a good fortune treasure. Seeing that Yan Xishuang didn't hide anything from him, Ning Cheng didn't hide anything. Yan Xishuang didn't notice her impoliteness. Instead, she couldn't hide the shock and excitement in her eyes. She muttered, it's a good fortune treasure, a fragment of the good fortune lotus. But soon, she remembered what Ning Cheng had just said and quickly asked, you took a fancy to this good fortune treasure, so you don't want to share it with me? When she said this, she completely forgot that her cultivation was higher than Ning Cheng's. Let go of your hand first. Ning Cheng looked at Yan Xishuang, who was holding on to him. Only then did Yan Xishuang realize that she had been too excited. She quickly put down her hand and looked at Ning Cheng with even more urgency. Ning Cheng spoke up speechlessly, can you separate a good fortune treasure? Yan Xishuang thought about it and agreed. If a good fortune treasure could be separated, it wouldn't be a good fortune treasure. Even if she was an eternal level expert, she couldn't separate a good fortune treasure. Ning Cheng, however, fell into contemplation after saying those words. Good fortune treasures were so tough, so how could they have fragments? What could break a good fortune treasure? The good fortune indestructible axe he saw before was a fragment, and now he saw a blue lotus petal, which was also a fragment. A blue lotus petal? Was it a fragment of the good fortune azure lotus? Ning Cheng felt even more shocked. When he obtained the mysterious yellow bead, he had obtained some inheritance, which contained some vague information about the good fortune azure lotus. Since both the good fortune indestructible axe and the good fortune azure lotus could be broken, the only possibility was that the owners of these two good fortune treasures had fought each other, which resulted in both of them breaking apart. Yan Xishuang didn't know that Ning Cheng didn't even think about taking the azure lotus fragment for himself. But when she saw Ning Cheng frowning and thinking about it, she thought that Ning Cheng didn't want to give up this treasure. She sighed and said, "This azure lotus isn't easy to get. If you can get it, you can have it. I didn't even use any strength." Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. "Fairy Yan, I don't want to take this azure lotus for myself. It's because this azure lotus has no benefits for you. Once I take away this drop of weak water, the good fortune aura of the azure lotus would overflow. Do you think you can survive with the good fortune aura around you?" Yan Xishuang spoke up directly. "Ning Cheng, I really want this azure lotus. If you are willing to give it to me, I have a way to hide the good fortune aura of the azure lotus. If you don't want to give it to me, just forget what I said." Chapter 752. Ning Cheng spoke up with a calm voice. "The good fortune fragment is good, but it wouldn't make me break my promise. If I can take away this drop of weak water, you have to put away the green lotus fragment as fast as possible. I will give you at most half an incense stick of time. If you haven't taken away the green lotus fragment in half an incense stick of time, then sorry, I will take it away myself." Ning Cheng really didn't covet the good fortune azure lotus fragment, even though he knew that it would bring him great benefits. However, since the two of them were working together, he couldn't possibly eat them all. That would be too unsightly. But since Yan Xishuang didn't take away the azure lotus fragment after half an incense stick worth of time, then he wouldn't remain polite. The good fortune aura of the green lotus fragment could easily be exposed. With his ability, he could at most control this aura for the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. After half an incense stick worth of time, if Yan Xishuang couldn't take away the azure lotus fragment, he would take it himself. Otherwise, if someone sensed the aura of the good fortune treasure, he would be shooting himself in the foot. "Alright, I agree. If I can't take this lotus fragment in half an incense stick's time, then I'll let you take it." However, ordinary items could not be stored in the 3,000 weak water. Even a top-grade Dao artifact would be quickly corroded by the 3,000 weak water. "Are you sure you can take away this 3,000 weak water?" Yan Xishuang asked with some doubt after agreeing to Ning Cheng's words. If Ning Cheng couldn't take away the 3,000 weak water, she couldn't collect the good fortune azure lotus fragment. Ning Cheng had already thought of this a long time ago. He had a hunch that his measureless gourd could take away this 3,000 weak water. As for why, it was just a hunch. If the measureless gourd could not take away the 3,000 weak water, then Ning Cheng decided to leave immediately. Treasures were good, but his life was more important. "I'll give it a try." Saying that, Ning Cheng brought out the measureless gourd and drove the Nirvana bluestone towards the weak water. The closer the Nirvana bluestone got to the weak water, the louder the chi-chi sound became. At the same time, the cold aura also wrapped Yan Xishuang in a layer of frost. Even if Ning Cheng's body contained the celestial river flame, his eyebrows gradually started to condense with white frost. This was definitely not an ordinary white frost. This kind of frost was thousands of times colder than ordinary white frost. Once this frost invaded their blood, even if Ning Cheng and Yan Xishuang were body-refining experts with a starry sky body, they would still freeze to death. "Stop, we can't go any further." Yan Xishuang anxiously called out to Ning Cheng. If they went any further, this Nirvana bluestone would turn into nothingness. Without the Nirvana bluestone, they would undoubtedly die. Ning Qing stopped and looked at Yan Xishuang calmly before saying, Fairy Yan, I have to give it a try. If you don't want to try. If Yan Xishuang didn't want to try, then he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't just send Yan Xishuang up. If he sent Yan Xishuang up, he might never be able to come to this place again. Yan Xishuang sighed. Ning Qing, continue. Since he wanted to obtain something good, he had to take this risk. But what I want to tell you is that once the Nirvana Bluestone completely melts, I still have a trump card to escape. If you can't escape, Ning Qing spoke in a light voice, I don't need you to care about me, in case of failure, you can just walk away by yourself. While speaking, Ning Qing sped up even more. The Nirvana Bluestone's sizzling sounds grew even faster, and the Bluestone started to shrink. Ning Qing estimated that in just half an incense stick worth of time, the Bluestone would completely melt. Yan Xishuang looked at Ning Qing with a complicated look before taking out a talisman and holding it in her hand. Breaking Boundary Talisman? Ning Qing asked in surprise. He had already used a Breaking Boundary Talisman in the past. Zhang Wei had given him one, and he knew that it was a heaven-defying talisman that could tear through the boundary and escape. Since Yan Xishuang could take out a Breaking Boundary Talisman, it meant that she definitely had an extraordinary background. Ning Qing could also see that Yan Xishuang's Breaking Boundary Talisman was somewhat different from the one Zhang Wei gave him. Although the grade wasn't as good as the one Zhang Wei gave him, the Dao charm flowing over it was of a higher grade. Yan Xishuang nodded, it's a Breaking Boundary Talisman. My Breaking Boundary Talisman is a bit special. To be precise, it's much better than common Breaking Boundary Talismans. Unfortunately, this Breaking Boundary Talisman can only go to a specific place, and only one person can go there. So, I can't take you away. At this point, Yan Xishuang seemed a little embarrassed. Ning Qing had saved her life before. But now, in a life-and-death situation, she could only protect herself and couldn't help Ning Qing. Ning Qing did not care about it as he waved his hand. Not everyone was like Yu Qing who valued friendship and righteousness. If it were Yu Qing instead of Yan Xishuang, even if the two of them had just met, Yu Qing wouldn't hesitate to give the Breaking Boundary Talisman to Ning Qing. There was no other reason than that he had saved her life. In fact, even if Yan Xishuang didn't want to leave and gave him the Breaking Boundary Talisman, he would never take it. It had nothing to do with the mysterious yellow bead. It was just that he wouldn't do such a thing. Yan Xishuang obviously wasn't like Yu Qing. If her Breaking Boundary Talisman could take away Ning Qing, she wouldn't hesitate to take him away. But since her Breaking Boundary Talisman could only be used by one person, she wouldn't give up this opportunity to others. The sizzling sound grew louder and louder, and the Bluestone slab shrank to less than 3 feet. It was foreseeable that if the Nirvana Bluestone shrank any further, it wouldn't be able to accommodate 2 people at the same time. Yan Xishuang leaned close to Ning Qing, and the talisman in her hand even gave off a faint glow. From this, one could tell that she was ready to escape at any time. Ning Qing remained calm. When the Bluestone slab shrank to less than 2 feet, he suddenly brought out the measureless gourd in his hand. The measureless gourd, driven by Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness, directly covered the drop of weak water and released a suction force towards the weak water. At the same time, Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness turned into countless tiny consciousness threads and shot out. However, before these consciousness threads could even touch the weak water, they turned into nothingness. As the powerful aura of the weak water and cold water assaulted him, Ning Qing felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Ning Qing crazily sent out more spiritual consciousness threads. He had a starry sky sea of consciousness, and his sea of consciousness had recently advanced once. Plus, he also had the protection of the everlasting Blue Thunder City and the Celestial River in his sea of consciousness. Although the powerful backlash from the weak water could hurt him, it couldn't do anything to him. As Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness threads increased in number and the suction force from the measureless gourd grew stronger, the drop of weak water finally reached Ning Qing and turned into a dark gray stream that rushed into the measureless gourd. No matter how powerful the weak water was, it was only a drop. After the drop of weak water entered the measureless gourd, Ning Qing quickly activated several restrictions and sealed the mouth of the gourd. Ning Qing felt pleasantly surprised. First, the measureless gourd could really collect the 3,000 drops of weak water. Second, he felt that this drop of 3,000 drops of weak water would help him a lot in the future. Yan Xishuang, who was about to activate the talisman, felt shocked when she saw Ning Qing put away the weak water. She quickly reacted and rushed out, pouncing towards the green lotus petal. Ning Cheng's face turned pale. Nevertheless, he kept his promise and threw out dozens of array flags, covering up the good fortune aura of the azure lotus petal. Yan Xishuang really wasn't bragging. She didn't even need half an incense stick worth of time to collect the good fortune azure lotus petal. As for where it went, Ning Qing couldn't feel it. This woman must have some secrets, Ning Qing thought to himself in shock. However, he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he picked up the half-foot-long Nirvana bluestone under his feet. He vaguely felt that this half-foot-long Nirvana bluestone had something wrapped inside it, and that something was still shaking. Was this the Nirvana heart that could evolve a grade 6 starry sky flame? Ning Cheng's heart filled with expectations. The surprise on Yan Xishuang's face was even more obvious than Ning Cheng's. She threw a ring to Ning Cheng and said, "These are for you. Thank you for your generosity. I'm leaving now. If you have the ability to go to where I am in the future, I will thank you again." The moment Ning Cheng received the ring, Yan Xishuang activated the Breaking Boundary Talisman in her hand. The Breaking Boundary Talisman shot out a ray of light and instantly disappeared without a trace. Even after Yan Xishuang obtained the Good Fortune Azure Lotus Fragment, she still couldn't wait to leave. Ning Qing didn't find it strange that this woman was a little wary of him. After obtaining the Good Fortune Azure Lotus Fragment, she became even more wary of him. Therefore, she didn't hesitate to bring out the Breaking Boundary Talisman to escape. She feared that he would snatch the Azure Lotus Fragment. Ning Qing didn't care about it. Not to mention a Good Fortune Azure Lotus Fragment, even if it was the entire Good Fortune Azure Lotus. If he agreed to it, he wouldn't go back on his word and snatch it. Since he and Yan Xishuang had cooperated, he didn't feel like he suffered a loss. Of course, Yan Xishuang should have earned more. After Ning Qing took away the drop of weak water, the cold seawater around him disappeared completely. Ning Cheng's shield also blocked the surrounding seawater, and it only took him a few breaths to rush out of the water again. The 3,000 weak water river, which originally stood apart from the surrounding deep blue seawater, had disappeared without a trace, and the knife-like interface also started to merge with the surrounding seawater. The weak water river, which was originally a few feet lower, had already become level with the surrounding seawater. Once the waves came over, nothing could stop them anymore, and they directly swept over it. This 3,000 weak water river truly felt strange. Ning Qing sighed and brought out the starry sky wheel before disappearing without a trace. After Ning Qing left the devouring bone star, he immediately checked the ring Yan Xishuang gave him. Opening the ring, Ning Qing found a starry sky spiritual vein and 10 million permanent essence pills inside. This made Ning Qing feel very satisfied. What he lacked the most was cultivation resources. Although the value of the Good Fortune Azure Lotus Fragment was countless times more precious than his cultivation resources, Ning Qing didn't feel disappointed. He and Yan Xishuang were just cooperating. Not to mention that Yan Xishuang had paid him some cultivation resources. Even if Yan Xishuang didn't take out anything, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. After putting away these things, Ning Qing began to refine the drop of 3,000 weak water. Regardless of how useful this drop of 3,000 weak water would be to him in the future, he urgently needed this drop of weak water to cover up the mysterious yellow aura. The mysterious yellow bead still lacked the wood origin bead. Once he entered the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate, the mysterious yellow aura would leak out. Since this drop of weak water could hide the good fortune aura of the Good Fortune Azure Lotus Fragment, it could also hide the good fortune aura of the mysterious yellow bead. Chapter 753. The drop of 3,000 weak water, which Ning Qing refined, floated in the corner of the starry sky wheel's inner cabin. The mysterious yellow bead floated under this drop of weak water, without letting even the slightest bit of mysterious yellow aura seep out. Without Ning Cheng, even if this drop of weak water could cover up the good fortune aura, it could only use the devouring bone sea to hide the azure lotus fragment. It would be impossible to hide the complete good fortune origin aura of the mysterious yellow bead. However, the mysterious yellow bead was Ning Cheng's, and it had already recognized him as its master. Moreover, the mysterious yellow bead had already gathered 4 kinds of origins and only lacked the wood origin. Moreover, when Ning Cheng reached the Tao returning to 1 in the mysterious yellow bead, the laws of the mysterious yellow bead had slowly established themselves. Although it wasn't complete, it already had the aura of the starry sky laws. At this time, even if Ning Cheng did not use the weak water to cover up the mysterious yellow bead, he could still restrain almost 99% of the good fortune origin aura. Now that Ning Cheng refined the drop of 3,000 weak water, it floated above the mysterious yellow bead, perfectly concealing the mysterious yellow bead's aura. Ning Cheng stayed inside the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate while the starry sky will move towards culmination starland under Chasing Bull's control. Ning Cheng knew that his cultivation was still too low. Regardless of whether Chuan Xinluo could successfully reach Tao confirming realm or not, he had to use every bit of time to cultivate. The starry sky will controlled by Chasing Bull wasn't fast, but even so, it was still 10 times faster than an average starry sky battleship. Inside the mysterious yellow bead, piles of permanent essence pills turned into nothingness under Ning Cheng's absorption. The starry sky spiritual vein given to him by Yan Xishuang also gradually shrank. The rich and pure starry sky essence qi merged with the mysterious yellow origin, metal, water, fire, and earth origin auras to form a huge dragon-shaped essence qi that poured into Ning Cheng's body. With such a powerful absorption intensity, Ning Cheng's cultivation rose at a crazy pace, just like when he absorbed the starry sky essence qi. At the same time, his starry sky sea of consciousness and celestial essence continued to condense. Because of the absorption speed and range, Ning Cheng's starry sky essence also started to condense. The starry sky's essence qi around Ning Cheng's body turned into a whistling sound. If not for the mysterious yellow bead, this kind of momentum would have been too shocking. 5 months later, Ning Cheng had consumed more than 10 million permanent essence pills, and the starry sky essence qi vein under him had also disappeared. Ning Cheng opened his eyes and stood up before putting away the mysterious yellow bead. It didn't make any sense for him to continue cultivating. He only had about 3 million permanent essence pills left. Over the past few months, he had used up more than 10 million permanent essence pills, plus a starry sky essence qi vein. Yet, he had only managed to raise his cultivation to the peak of middle-stage life and death realm. However, he was still a step away from the late-stage life and death realm. This made Ning Cheng slightly disappointed. He knew that with the improvement of his cultivation, the resources he needed for his cultivation would also increase by several times. He also did not expect that the things required for cultivation would be so terrifying. Initially, he thought that more than 10 million permanent essence pills plus a starry sky essence qi vein would allow him to advance to the peak of life and death realm. But now it seems that he would need at least several times more to reach the peak of life and death realm. Fortunately, his strength had also increased by several folds. Compared to when he had just entered the life and death realm, his strength had taken another step forward. If he had been at a complete disadvantage against Chuan Xinluo before, then Ning Cheng believed that even if he couldn't compare to Chuan Xinluo now, it wouldn't be by much. What he feared the most now was that Chuan Xinluo managed to reach Tao confirming realm. If Chuan Xinluo succeeded in reaching Tao confirming realm, he would still be an ant in front of Chuan Xinluo. As for whether Chuan Xinluo died in the ancient Shadow Temple or not, Ning Cheng had a vague feeling that he wasn't the only one who came out alive after entering the ancient Shadow Temple. If only 2 people came out of the ancient Shadow Temple alive, then Chuan Xinluo would definitely be one of them. Master, we've reached culmination Starland. Chasing Bull felt Ning Cheng coming out of the mysterious yellow bead and quickly called out. Seeing Chasing Bull's expectant eyes, Ning Cheng understood that this fellow didn't want to stay in the true spirit world to cultivate. It just wanted to follow him outside. You don't have to enter the true spirit world, just follow me. Ning Qing didn't care about it. Although chasing bull was a spirit beast, it couldn't cultivate to the eternal realm in a short period of time. Unless one cultivated in the mysterious yellow bead, but chasing bull obviously couldn't cultivate in the mysterious yellow bead. Many thanks, Master. I promise I won't let down Master's prestige. Chasing bull felt overjoyed. A huge defensive array blocked Ning Cheng's path, and the 3 words "Yu Clan's Corner" appeared in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng stopped but didn't ask anyone. Seeing Yu Clan's Corner, Yu Qing's face appeared in his mind. Yu Qing would never appear again. Even if Yu Qing reincarnated, she would have nothing to do with him. Ning Cheng sighed. Thinking about Yu Qing, he couldn't help but miss Qianghua and Luofei even more. This time, after completing Yu Qing's task, if Qianghua and Luofei still couldn't find the mysterious yellow starland, he would issue a search warrant for the entire starry sky. He would never allow the same thing to happen a second time. Who are you looking for? A celestial bridge cultivator stopped Ning Cheng and looked at Ning Cheng and Chasing Bull beside Ning Cheng with some doubts. Chasing Bull wanted to speak for its master, but it didn't know what Ning Cheng was doing here. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and spoke up politely, "Excuse me, is Shin Mengyan here?" When the celestial bridge cultivator heard Ning Cheng say that he was looking for Shin Mengyan, his tone turned a little cold. "This is Yu Clan's Corner. I don't know this person. Please go ahead." Ning Cheng frowned slightly. Yu Qing had made it very clear that her mother's name was Shin Mengyan. Since she was Yu Qing's mother, then she must be in Yu Clan's Corner. You better speak politely. If you anger this grandpa bull will swallow you. Chasing Bull, on seeing its master frown, suddenly became angry. It kicked its hooves and roared. Chasing Bull's cultivation was much higher compared to this celestial bridge cultivator. Therefore, when this imposing aura came crashing down, the celestial bridge cultivator found it difficult to breathe. This celestial bridge cultivator obviously wasn't an idiot. Knowing that Chasing Bull's strength far surpassed him, he simply kept his mouth shut. Ning Cheng ignored Chasing Bull and asked again, "Excuse me, does Yu Qing live here?" The celestial bridge cultivator wanted to shout at Ning Cheng again, but when he glanced at the aggressive Chasing Bull next to him, he softened his tone and spoke, "Yu Qing has already fallen. There is no longer a person named Yu Qing here. You looking for Yu Qing has nothing to do with my Yu Clan's Corner. You can leave now." Then I'll ask again. Is Yu Qing's mother called Shin Mengyan? Ning Cheng's politeness disappeared without a trace, and his tone turned stern. Ning Cheng had spoken politely because of Yu Qing. But since this fellow showed no politeness towards Yu Qing, he naturally would not remain polite. Shin Mengyan is indeed Yu Qing's mother. She went out to look for Yu Qing many years ago, but there is no such person in Yu Clan's Corner. A crisp voice arrived, and a female cultivator in the heaven-seated realm appeared behind the celestial bridge cultivator. The celestial bridge cultivator quickly stepped forward and bowed, "Greetings, Aunt Ling." Ning Cheng also looked at this woman. She had early-stage heaven-seated cultivation and a slightly long face. But at the same time, she was also quite beautiful. Ning Cheng felt a little dissatisfied. Yu Clan's Corner had some fame in Culmination Starland. Why didn't they invite someone to come in and sit down? Instead, they directly said that the person they were looking for was not here. "I'm Yu Qing's friend. Yu Qing asked me to bring something to her mother, Senior Shin Mengyan." Ning Cheng said this because he wanted this Aunt Ling to invite him in. He wanted to learn more about Yu Qing and then ask about Shin Mengyan's whereabouts. But Ning Cheng didn't expect that before he could finish his words, this heaven-seated female cultivator directly interrupted Ning Cheng. "Yu Qing is not here, and neither is Shin Mengyan. If you have something, just give it to me and then leave." If she hadn't seen the bull next to Ning Cheng looking a little weird, she might have said something even worse. In fact, in her eyes, Ning Cheng was nothing. Yu Qing's friend, what was Yu Qing's cultivation? It would be strange if her friend could be any better. Chasing Bull snorted, and Ning Cheng knew that Chasing Bull was about to go berserk again. He patted Chasing Bull's head and spoke, "Since we're not welcome here, let's go." Yu Clan's corner was Yu Qing's hometown, and he didn't want to cause trouble here. As for handing over the purple moon-shaped talisman given to him by Yu Qing to someone else, Ning Qing didn't even think about it. Since Yu Qing asked him to give it to Shen Mengyan, he had to hand it over to Shen Mengyan. Seeing that Ning Qing didn't mention anything about handing over Yu Qing's things, Aunt Ling didn't force it, nor did she stop Ning Qing from leaving. She just gave a cold snort and raised her hand to flick Ning Cheng's back. A faintly discernible aura fell on Ning Cheng's back, but Ning Qing didn't seem to notice it. "Master, where are we going? Do you want to go to Eternal Heaven's Starry Sky City?" After leaving Yu Clan's corner, Chasing Bull quickly asked. It couldn't forget the liveliness of Eternal Heaven's Starry Sky City. Now that it came here again, it wanted to go to the lively Eternal Heaven's Starry Sky City the most. "Not for the time being. If we go, wouldn't that mark us too far away?" Ning Qing replied with a calm voice. A trivial heaven-seated cultivator dared to leave a spiritual consciousness imprint on his back. Since this Aunt Ling left a spiritual consciousness imprint on his back, she most likely wanted to kill him after he left. Perhaps because of this, she didn't force him to take out Yu Qing's things at the entrance of Yu Clan's corner. From the looks of it, after Yu Qing left Yu Clan's corner, something must have happened to her mother, Shen Mengyan. If Aunt Ling hadn't left a spiritual consciousness imprint on him, Ning Qing would have already sneaked into Yu Clan's corner to investigate. But since Aunt Ling dared to leave a spiritual consciousness imprint on him, then she shouldn't blame him. When that Aunt Ling came to his door, he could then interrogate her. Chasing Bull might be a fool, but it wasn't a fool. As soon as Ning Qing spoke those words, it immediately understood that someone had left a spiritual consciousness imprint on its master. It immediately felt angry. This woman ate a bear's heart and leopard's gall, daring to leave a spiritual consciousness imprint on its master. After leaving Yu Clan's corner, Ning Qing didn't move too fast. He initially thought that Aunt Ling wanted to kill him and would definitely wait for him to leave before making her move. However, he had just left Yu Clan's corner when his spiritual consciousness swept out and detected someone following him. What made him speechless was that the cultivator following him was just a celestial shatterer cultivator. Ning Qing couldn't understand it. Even if Aunt Ling's head was kicked by a donkey, she wouldn't let a celestial shatterer cultivator chase after him, right? Chapter 754. Senior. Ning Qing did not expect that the celestial shatterer cultivator behind him would unexpectedly call out to him with a respectful tone. Ning Qing stopped and looked at the white-haired celestial shatterer cultivator and asked, "Are you looking for me?" The celestial shatterer cultivator quickly stepped forward and spoke with a bow. "This junior is called Ai Ku. If Senior is a friend of Little Miss and really came back to deliver something for Little Miss, then please follow this junior." Ning Qing directly brought out the starry sky wheel and let the celestial shatterer cultivator stand on the starry sky wheel before speaking. "If the Little Miss you mentioned is Yu Qing, then you can lead the way." No matter who the other party was or what they wanted to do, Ning Qing was not afraid. With his current cultivation, even if several eternal cultivators besieged him, he could still escape with ease. "Yes." The celestial shatterer cultivator quickly responded. Chasing Bull controlled the starry sky wheel and quickly moved away from Yu Clan's corner under the guidance of this celestial shatterer cultivator. More than an hour later, the starry sky wheel stopped in front of an open-air makeshift market. This makeshift market was very low level, and the highest cultivator in it was only in the Celestial Bridge realm. Moreover, there were very few of them. Most of the cultivators were below the Celestial Bridge realm and only in the Celestial Scryer realm. Ai Ku took Ning Qing through 7 or 8 turns, and finally arrived at a corner of the makeshift market. There were no shops here, only some temporary and crude cave residences. Although these caves looked shabby, it was not because they were poorly built, but because the starry sky essence chi in these caves was extremely sparse. As such, it could not be regarded as a good place for cultivation. Ning Qing estimated that if he cultivated in such a place, without any external help, even if he cultivated for 10,000 years, he wouldn't be able to advance to the eternal realm. Ai Ku stopped in front of an immortal cave. AI Ku had not yet opened the Immortal Cave's restriction, but Ning Qing could already see the situation inside the Immortal Cave. There was only one person in the Immortal Cave, and it was someone that Ning Qing knew. Ning Qing only knew that the talkative girl who had been with Yu Qing at that time was called Cici. But now, Cici's face was haggard, and her hair was a mess. She looked more than 10 years older than before. His cultivation was hovering around the celestial Shatterer realm, and from the looks of it, it was still regressing. Seeing Cici, Ning Qing felt a sense of familiarity in his heart. Cici was one of Yu Qing's people. Since Ning Qing treated Yu Qing differently, he also treated Cici differently. AI Ku opened the cave's restrictions, and Ning Qing instructed Chasing Bull to stand guard outside before following AI Ku into the cave. Cici, this senior said that he is Mrs. Friend. Aiku said hurriedly as soon as he came in. Cici looked up at Ning Qing in a daze, and then her eyes showed a trace of surprise. Interrupting Aiku's words, she spoke, "You are." "That's right, you're called Ning Qing. Elder sister Qing told me about you. Why are you here?" After she finished speaking, Cici suddenly remembered AI Ku's words from before and quickly asked, "Senior apprentice brother Ning, did you see sister Qing afterwards?" Ning Qing turned to AI Ku and spoke, "AI Ku, you go out for a bit. I want to speak to junior apprentice sister Cici alone." "All right." Aiku bowed respectfully and left the room. "How did you get here? Didn't Sister Qing say that you fell in the time wilderness?" "Originally, elder sister Qing was looking for you to cooperate with her. But since she couldn't find any news about you, she decided to cooperate with another person." Cici, on seeing Ning Qing, a person she was not familiar with, seemed to speak a lot more. She could not react for a while and could not think of how Ning Qing found AI Ku. Ning Qing sighed and looked at Cici before speaking, "I'm sorry, Cici. I lied to Yu Qing. In fact, Wanderer is just my alias. Yu Qing entered the time wilderness again because of me." Yu Qing entered the time wilderness for the second time because of Wanderer, which Cici already knew. She even knew that elder sister Qing had fallen in love with the Wanderer who carried her on his back for a few years and never abandoned her. She never thought that Ning Qing was Wanderer. Moreover, Ning Qing did not fall but came out of the time wilderness. After hearing Ning Qing's words, Cici suddenly felt dumbfounded. After a long time, she suddenly understood and pointed at Ning Qing while stammering, You. I understand, you are Jiangzhou's Wanderer, the Jiangzhou's Wanderer who rushed to the top of the 9x9 Celestial Scryer Tower." If Ning Qing had not mentioned the name Wanderer, even if Cici knew that the person who reached the top of the Celestial Scryer Tower was called Jiangzhou's Wanderer, she would not have thought of Ning Qing. Ning Qing nodded, "Yes, I'm that Jiangzhou's Wanderer." Cici's shock only lasted for a moment before she once again turned decadent, and her tone turned abnormally low. "Elder sister Qing really has a good eye. She once said that the person she likes must be outstanding. Even if it was within the Celestial Scryer Tower, that person would have to be ranked first. Although she did not see it with her own eyes, you managed to climb to the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Unfortunately, elder sister Qing is no longer here." Cici spoke halfway when her tone suddenly changed, turning even more depressed and sad. Ning Qing spoke up slowly, "Cici, when Yu Qing met me, I was just an ordinary wanderer. When she fell in love with me, I had not yet reached the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. The reason why she said that was because she did not want people to keep bothering her. She was a person with a good temperament, a good woman." Cici sighed, "From childhood to adulthood, I have always been with elder sister Qing. I have never seen a kinder person than elder sister Qing. Did you know? That time in the rest stop in the revolving Jade City, elder sister Qing asked me to pour wine on you, but it was actually to save you. The white-robed heaven-seated cultivator who targeted you was a demon. He likes to devour the spiritual roots of cultivators. He left a spiritual consciousness mark on you, which made elder sister Qing want to help you." Thinking that Yu Qing was no longer here, Cici could not continue. "I know." Ning Cheng's tone also turned a little lonely. If he could, he would rather save Yu Qing at any cost. You should leave quickly. Remember not to let anyone know that you are a Jiangzhou's wanderer. If someone knows that you are a Jiangzhou's wanderer, maybe someone will try to take over your body. I can't even protect myself right now, and I can't help you. Under the great changes, Cece's temperament had also changed a lot. If it were before, she would have definitely blamed Ning Cheng for Yu Qing's death. But now, she just wanted Ning Cheng to leave quickly. Elder sister Qing risked her life to save this person, and she did not want to let elder sister Qing down. Ning Cheng did not leave. He calmed his mood and spoke, Cece, tell me what happened. Why are you hiding here? Ai Ku did not say that Ning Cheng came here to deliver something to Yu Qing before Cece interrupted him. Cece's mind was in a mess right now, so she did not think too much about Ning Cheng coming here. She knew that Ning Cheng was the person elder sister Qing liked. Now that Ning Cheng asked about it, she did not hide it. Shortly after elder sister Qing left, Aunt Lan fell in the Twin Tower Hill. Who is Aunt Lan? Where is the Twin Tower Hill? Ning Cheng asked immediately. Aunt Lan is elder sister Qing's master, and I cultivate behind Aunt Lan. The Twin Tower Hill is a trial ground outside Culmination Starland. When Aunt Lan went to the Twin Tower Hill, she had just advanced to the late-stage life and death realm. It's not because the Twin Tower Hill is too dangerous that Aunt Lan fell, but because of that dog thief Ji Lei. That dog thief killed Aunt Lan. Cece even gnashed her teeth as she spoke. Who is Ji Lei? How could he kill Aunt Lan, a late-stage life and death realm cultivator? Ning Cheng's tone turned a little unfriendly. Cece did not hear the difference in Ning Cheng's tone and explained, Ji Lei is Chuan Xinluo's dog with early-stage eternal cultivation. Ning Cheng asked in confusion, if Chuan Xinluo had any ideas about Yu Clan's corner, he would have already destroyed it. Why would he send Ji Lei? Cece shook her head, no, Ji Lei killed Aunt Lan because of those despicable people from Yu Clan's corner. In Yu Clan's corner, there is a vicious woman named Baoinga. She was the one who sent Ji Lei to kill Aunt Lan. After she instigated Ji Lei to kill Aunt Lan, she then framed Aunt Yen for losing her virtue. After Yu Clan crippled Aunt Yan's cultivation and locked her in the water prison, she and her sister immediately took away Aunt Lan's essence chi praying mat. So, Baoinga killed Aunt Lan because of that essence chi praying mat. Baoinga's surname is not Yu, so how could she do such evil things in Yu Clan's corner? Besides, why didn't Yu Qing's father come out to speak? Ning Cheng's tone turned even colder. Since something happened to Yu Qing, he could not ignore Yu Qing's master and mother. Cece sighed again, Sister Qing's father is called Yu Yuechen. Sister Qing's mother, Shen Mengyan, and Baoinga both fell in love with Sister Qing's father. However, Sister Qing's father only chose Aunt Yen. Shortly after Sister Qing's birth, Sister Qing's father left Culmination Starland. After that, he never came back. Aunt Lan and Aunt Yen brought up Sister Qing. Ning Cheng felt even more puzzled, since Baoinga wasn't chosen by Sister Qing's father, how could she snatch the essence chi praying mat in Yu Clan's corner? Cece explained, because Baoinga has an elder sister called Bao Lingling. She is the Dao companion of Yu Clan's elder Yu Xingxian. Yu Xingxian has early-stage life and death cultivation and is one of the most important figures in Yu Clan. Moreover, he controls Yu Clan's cultivation resources and has a high status in Yu Clan's corner. Is this woman's cultivation in the heaven-seated realm? As Ning Cheng spoke, he raised his hand and drew out a void image. When Cece saw the image drawn by Ning Cheng, she spoke up in shock, that's her. Senior apprentice brother Ning, how do you know this woman? Ning Cheng waved the image away and said, because I just came from Yu Clan's corner. Yu Qing asked me to deliver something to Aunt Yen, but I couldn't even enter Yu Clan's corner. When Cece heard Ning Cheng's words, she excitedly grabbed Ning Cheng's hand and spoke, Senior apprentice brother Ning, did you see Sister Qing? Is Sister Qing alright? Ning Cheng's tone turned downcast, I'm sorry, Cece. I also entered the Time Wilderness once and met Yu Qing in the Time Wilderness. She left behind a purple jade and asked me to bring it to her mother. After Cece heard Ning Cheng's words, she put down her hand in a daze. She didn't know how difficult it would be to enter the time wilderness again. She only knew that since Sister Qing could enter, then Ning Cheng could also enter. After a while, she murmured, "No wonder you can come here. I asked Ai Ku to stay in Yu Clan's corner. I wanted to wait for Aunt Yan's friends to come looking for Aunt Yan and then ask Aunt Yan's friends to help save Aunt Yan. I didn't expect Ai Ku to bring you here." Ning Cheng clenched his fists. "Cece, you're right. Now, come with me to save Aunt Yan." "Ah." Cece looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. "What did you say?" Chapter 755. Outside Yu Clan's corner, a female cultivator with a slightly longer face frowned and looked around. At this moment, a sudden voice suddenly sounded, "Are you looking for me?" "It's you." The female cultivator stared at Ning Cheng standing in front of her in shock. She had placed a spiritual consciousness imprint on Ning Cheng before, but when she tried to kill Ning Cheng, the spiritual consciousness imprint suddenly disappeared. Because her spiritual consciousness imprint disappeared, she started looking around the entrance of Yu Clan's corner. Now that she heard Ning Cheng's voice, she suddenly realized that she didn't know that Ning Cheng had appeared in front of her. Not only did she not know that Ning Cheng had appeared in front of her, but she also didn't know that Cece and Ai Ku, who followed behind Ning Cheng, had arrived. "How did you end up here?" The female cultivator looked at Ning Cheng in even more surprise. Unless his cultivation was much higher than hers, how could he come to this place without her noticing? Also, where did her spiritual consciousness imprint go? She would never believe that Ning Cheng could remove her spiritual consciousness imprint without anyone noticing. As for Cece and Ai Ku, they weren't even ants. "You should be Bao Lingling, right? I guess you must have been looking for this." While talking, Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed the spiritual consciousness imprint sealed in a low-level talisman before throwing it to Bao Lingling. After Bao Lingling caught the talisman, she felt her spiritual consciousness imprint inside. Someone had truly sealed her spiritual consciousness imprint. At this moment, she felt flustered and didn't dare to scold Ning Cheng for a while. Ning Cheng took a few steps forward, and Bao Lingling subconsciously stepped back. "Let me tell you one more thing. My name is Ning Cheng, and I forcibly broke open Yu Clan's corner's defensive array." After Ning Cheng stared at Bao Lingling and spoke those words, he punched the base of Yu Clan's corner's defensive array. Catcha, with just one punch, Ning Cheng directly opened a crack in Yu Clan's corner's defensive array. Ning Cheng was an array emperor who could arrange starry sky grade 9 array formations. Therefore, in the face of Yu Clan's corner's defensive array, which was barely a starry sky grade 8, Ning Cheng didn't need much effort to break it open. Bao Lingling subconsciously shuddered. Ning Cheng's punch made it clear to her that she wasn't Ning Cheng's opponent. Yu Clan's corner's array entrance was clearly open, yet Ning Cheng still wanted to forcibly break open the defensive array. Apparently, he came here to seek revenge. Just by looking at Cece behind Ning Cheng, Bao Lingling understood why Ning Cheng came here for revenge. Boom boom boom. Ning Cheng simply did not care about Bao Lingling at the side, and forcibly continued to throw out a few punches. Raging celestial essence accompanied Ning Cheng's fists and slammed into the array base of Yu Clan's corner's defensive array over and over again. As the celestial essence power continued to spread out, the cracking sounds coming from Yu Clan's corner's defensive array grew louder and louder. Ka-ka-ka. Ka-cha. As Ning Cheng's last punch fell, celestial essence exploded, and the precious defensive array protecting Yu Clan's corner also exploded. Yu Clan's corner, which was originally hidden in Yu Clan's corner, was clearly revealed at this moment. Stop. Almost at the same time that Ning Cheng blasted open the defensive array around Yu Clan's corner, Bao Lingling reacted and asked Ning Cheng to stop. It was just that she called out too late. In fact, even if she did not call out too late, Ning Cheng would not have stopped. Bao Lingling looked at Ning Cheng in horror. If she tried to break this defensive array, she would not have been able to open it even after a few days and nights. But this cultivator named Ning Cheng in front of her, who had blasted open the defensive array with just a few punches, was simply too terrifying. He definitely was an eternal-level powerhouse. Wait, Ning Cheng, this name sounds a bit familiar. Swish swish. Dozens of shadows rushed out from Yu Clan's corner like lightning. Someone blasted open the defensive array around Yu Clan's corner, which naturally alarmed all the experts present. Which rat dares to behave atrociously in my Yu Clan's corner? Before the people arrived, angry curses had already arrived. Cece, who followed behind Ning Cheng, felt even more stunned. The reason why she dared to follow Ning Cheng here was not because Ning Cheng persuaded her. It was because Ning Cheng said that he had a way to sneak into Yu Clan's corner. He could even hide his body and then find Aunt Yen to rescue her. But what did Ning Cheng's method of breaking open the defensive array have to do with sneaking into Yu Clan's corner? It was simply courting death. What puzzled Cece was how Ning Cheng could blast open the defensive array around Yu Clan's corner with just a few punches. Coming from Yu Clan's corner, she naturally knew about the power of Yu Clan's corner's defensive array. You're the rat. If you anger this Grandpa Bull will swallow your entire Yu Clan's corner in one bite. Chasing Bull loved this kind of scolding the most. Several cultivators who were about to rush up stopped by a handsome middle-aged male cultivator. This middle-aged male cultivator walked up to Ning Cheng and looked at Ning Cheng from head to toe before speaking with cupped fists. This cultivator is Yu Baihong. My Yu Clan's corner doesn't seem to have anything to do with this Dao friend. So, why did this Dao friend break my Yu Clan's defensive array for no reason? If Ning Cheng hadn't destroyed the defensive array around Yu Clan's corner in just a few moves, he would have already called for people to take action. Why would he wait until now? Ning Cheng could tell at a glance that this handsome middle-aged male cultivator had the highest cultivation here, at the early stage Eternal Realm. Moreover, it seemed that he had advanced not too long ago. Ning Cheng spoke up with a calm voice, I'm a friend of Yu Qing's, and I came here to look for Yu Qing's mother, Shen Mengyan. Yet, Yu Clan's corner doesn't allow me to enter and even spoke rudely to me. I don't feel good about it. Shen Mengyan and Yu Qing, that mother-daughter pair of dogs, don't deserve to be in my Yu Clan's corner. Ning Cheng had just finished when a sharp voice erupted. However, the voice didn't finish his sentence. He stopped abruptly halfway through his sentence. Everyone stared at Ning Cheng's hand in horror. Ning Cheng's hand was currently squeezing the neck of a male cultivator in brocaded robes. The male cultivator's legs kept kicking as if Ning Cheng didn't let go of him. It felt as if he would die if Ning Cheng didn't let go of him. At this moment, the entire scene turned silent. Everyone in Yu Clan knew that the male cultivator in brocaded robes held by Ning Cheng was called Yu Xingsheng, a heaven-seated powerhouse of Yu Clan. Not to mention a heaven-seated cultivator, even if someone grabbed the neck of an ordinary cultivator, it wouldn't cause such a suffocating situation. But now, Yu Xingsheng, a heaven-seated cultivator, felt like he was suffocating. Yu Baihong felt even more dumbfounded. This young man in front of him could easily blast open the defensive array around Yu Clan's corner. This in itself showed that this young man had amazing cultivation. Because of this, Yu Baihong didn't act immediately. But now that Ning Cheng had easily grabbed Yu Xingsheng's neck, it showed that Ning Cheng's cultivation was far above what he had guessed. Even he couldn't compare to him. Dao friend, please stop. Yu Baihong suppressed the shock in his heart and called out. He knew that if Ning Cheng didn't let go, Yu Xingsheng would die. Ning Cheng glanced at Yu Baihong and threw out Yu Xingsheng. Yu Baihong immediately felt relieved. But before he could speak, Ning Cheng threw out a fireball in his hand the next moment. The moment Yu Xingsheng cursed at Yu Qing, he had already become a dead man in Ning Cheng's eyes. The fireball instantly wrapped around Yu Xingsheng, who Ning Cheng had thrown out, and Yu Xingsheng's screams erupted from the flames. A burnt smell spread out, and everyone felt a chill in their hearts. They knew that Yu Xingsheng was finished. Someone had burned him in front of all the experts of Yu Clan's corner. The moment Bao Lingling saw Ning Cheng burn Yu Xingsheng, she finally remembered Ning Cheng's name. This was Striking Order Starland's powerhouse, mysterious yellow sect master Ning Cheng. This Ning Cheng was extremely fierce. He didn't even put Chuan Xinlo and the endless void docks in his eyes. So how could he put a puny Yu clan's corner in his eyes? I'm going to kill you. A violent voice came from afar, and it seemed as if someone was about to rush over. After Bao Lingling realized Ning Cheng's identity, she immediately panicked. When she saw the person approaching, she quickly rushed over and tried to stop him. Lingling, let go of me. That beast killed my brother Xingsheng. The man's face almost burned with anger. Slap. Bao Lingling slapped the man's face and spoke up in anger, Yu Xingxian, listen to me. Yu Xingxian deserved to die. Bao Lingling. Yu Xingxian roared in anger. He was an early-stage life and death expert and had control over the cultivation resources of Yu clan's corner. Now that his Dao companion, Bao Lingling, slapped him in the face, did he still have any face left? Originally, Bao Lingling and her elder sister Bao Inga both served leveled Heart Emperor Mountain's Ji Lei at the same time, which made him unhappy. But now Bao Lingling even dared to attack him in public, hindering him from avenging his brother. How could he endure it? In anger, he raised his hand and punched Bao Lingling in the chest. Bao Lingling spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and looked at Yu Xingxian in disbelief. She was caught off guard, and Yu Xingxian's cultivation was much higher than hers. Yu Xingxian's punch had shattered her dantian and meridians, causing her to lose all her cultivation. For Yu Xingxian, she could even serve other men, yet in the end, she ended up ruined by Yu Xingxian's hands. Ning Qing didn't care about Bao Lingling and Yu Xingxian at all and took another step forward. Yu Baihong threw Bao Lingling aside and stared at Ning Qing. As soon as Ning Qing moved, he immediately moved. However, Ning Cheng's powerful celestial river domain crushed out and directly sealed his domain. Not waiting for him to make any adjustments, Ning Cheng had already flashed past him. Yu Xingxian didn't even have time to resist before he found it difficult to breathe. The powerful domain's imposing aura made him feel like he was about to die. Bang! Ning Cheng casually walked over and kicked Yu Xingxian in the chest. Yu Xingxian didn't even have the ability to resist. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of internal organs. The next moment, his body turned into a leaky sieve, and endless celestial essence leaked out crazily. His cultivation, like Bao Lingling, also turned into nothingness. After a few breaths, Yu Xingxian looked at Ning Cheng in horror. His dantian had shattered, and his cultivation had been crippled by a single kick. The experts from Yu Clan, who had rushed out, all remained silent and looked at Ning Cheng in horror. At this moment, no one came forward. Ning Cheng's strength made them realize that even if they went up, they would only end up dead in seconds. Yu Baihong felt even more terrified. This young cultivator not only shattered Yu Clan's corner's defensive array with a few punches, but he also killed a middle-stage heaven-seated expert and an early-stage life and death expert in front of him. If he had died in a fight, it would have given him some confidence. But this fellow had only taken a few steps and stretched out his hand. How did Yu Clan's corner end up with such a strong enemy? Chapter 756. Facing an unknown and powerful cultivator like Ning Cheng, even if he killed two experts from Yu Clan's corner, Yu Baihong didn't dare to fight at will. Just when Yu Baihong was in a dilemma, a brilliance quickly approached and landed in front of Yu Clan's corner in just a few breaths. It was an airship-type weapon, and after the weapon landed, someone put it away. Then, three people walked over. The one walking in front was a middle-aged Confucian scholar with a long beard that reached his chest and a trace of scholarly aura. Ning Qing recognized this person, Sect Master Qing Xingwen of Spiritual Heaven Sect. He had gone to Jiangzhou stars-covered Snow City with Chuan Xinlo. Qin Xingwen's cultivation was already at the late-stage Eternal Realm, which made even Ning Qing feel some fear. Ning Qing also recognized the male cultivator behind Qin Xingwen. His name was Xiao Yu, a genius through and through. When Ning Qing saw him this time, he had already reached the full circle of Heaven's Mandate Realm. From this, Ning Qing understood that he would be able to break through to the Heaven-seated realm in just a short time. With Spiritual Heaven Sect's wealth, Xiao Yu naturally didn't need to look for cultivation resources like Ning Qing did to break through to the Heaven-seated realm. Ning Qing also felt some admiration in his heart. If he didn't have the mysterious yellow bead, not to mention surpassing Xiao Yu, he probably wouldn't even be able to see his back. The other female cultivator standing behind Qin Xingwen was also in Heaven's Mandate realm. Wearing a light red dress, with long hair draped over her shoulders, she exuded a hint of ethereal arrogance. Ning Qing felt sure that this female cultivator's qualifications weren't any lower than Xiao Yu's. Therefore, she exuded an ethereal aura of an immortal. At the same time, she also exuded an air of arrogance. It felt as if apart from her and Qin Xingwen, everyone else around her was just air. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over the female cultivator's face and couldn't help but praise her in his heart. This female cultivator indeed had the capital to be arrogant. Her crescent moon-like eyebrows combined with her delicate face made her look very pleasing to the eye. If it weren't for the fact that her face didn't show any fluctuations and even had a hint of arrogance, it would have attracted even more attention. So it's Sect Master Ning. Since Sect Master Ning has come to Culmination Starland, you must come visit my spiritual heaven sect. Qin Xingwen had just landed when an enthusiastic voice arrived. Ning Qing cupped his fists. Sect Master Qin, nice to meet you. As for going to the Ling Shao sect, he had never thought about it. He and Qin Xingwen were not familiar with each other to that extent. On the surface, Qin Xingwen had gone to congratulate the mysterious yellow sect on the opening ceremony, but in fact, he didn't even send any gifts. It simply showed that he didn't have any good intentions. It's just that Song Cai had joined the mysterious yellow sect, while striking order and Wu Hong helped Ning Cheng. As such, Chuan Xinluo couldn't do anything. Yu Baihong quickly stepped forward and saluted Qin Xingwen. Sect Master Qin has graced us with your presence. My Yu clan's corner was unable to welcome you from afar. It was truly impolite of us. Qin Xingwen chuckled. Brother Yu is too polite. When Yu Baihong heard that Qin Xingwen had only spoken half a sentence, he immediately felt a bad premonition in his heart. He had a hunch that Qin Xingwen came here to seek help from Yu clan's corner. Now that this person didn't even ask for help, it meant that it was all because of this Sect Master Ning. Qin Xingwen felt afraid that this Sect Master Ning had a deep enmity with Yu clan's corner. Therefore, he didn't want to have anything to do with Yu clan's corner. Yu Baihong quickly came to this conclusion. After all, the defensive array here had been destroyed, and Yu Xingxian's cultivation base had been crippled. Yu Baihong quickly spoke up. Sect Master Chen, Sect Master Ning, please take a seat inside. At the same time, he sent a sound transmission to Qin Xingwen. Sect Master Chen, I don't know this Sect Master Ning at all. Yet, he came to my Yu clan's corner and started a massacre. May I ask Sect Master Chen, what is his origin? Qin Xingwen looked at Yu Baihong in surprise. He had thought that Ning Cheng and Yu clan's corner would definitely know each other. Unexpectedly, Yu Baihong didn't know about Ning Cheng's origin. Qin Xingwen smiled and said, by the way, let me introduce you. This is Mysterious Yellow Sect's Sect Master Ning Cheng. Sect Master Ning, since Brother Yu invited you, why don't you come in and sit down? Although Yu Baihong had been in seclusion, it didn't mean that he didn't care about anything. Ning Cheng had destroyed named Descendant Celestial River King, taken away named Descendant Celestial River, and renamed it Mysterious Yellow Celestial River. At the same time, he established the Mysterious Yellow Sect in Mysterious Yellow Celestial River's Jiangzhou Star and declared that the Mysterious Yellow Sect was independent from Grand Culmination Starry Sky. How could he not know about such a thing? Now that Yu Baihong heard that the young sect master in front of him was Ning Cheng, it immediately felt as if a pot of ice water had been poured over his heart. Ning Cheng didn't even put Chuan Xinluo and Endless Void Doc's Doc Master Gua Sangon in his eyes. What was his Yu clan's corner worth? In other words, if this person raised his hand and destroyed Yu clan's corner, he, Yu Baihong, could only watch helplessly. Who would dare to separate a celestial river from the grand starry sky? He had only heard of Ning Cheng, right? Even if he knew that Chuan Xinluo wouldn't let go of Ning Cheng, wasn't Ning Cheng still alive and well? However, he heard that Chuan Xinluo had gone to the ancient Shadow Temple and hadn't come out yet. By the way, wasn't the ancient Shadow Temple located in stately River Star? That place was also Ning Cheng's territory, could it be? Yu Baihong didn't dare to think about it. He knew that even if he and Qin Xingwen had a close relationship, Qin Xingwen wouldn't move the stone and smash it on spiritual heaven sect's foot. In other words, Qin Xingwen would never help his Yu clan's corner. Even Qin Xingwen didn't want to offend this person. As long as his Yu clan's corner wasn't stupid, they would never offend him. Yu Baihong quickly lowered his posture and respectfully cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng. Sect Master Ning, please come in. I was in seclusion before this. The servants of Yu clan's corner had eyes but failed to see. I, Yu Baihong, would like to apologize to Brother Ning here. Almost all of the Yu clan's cultivators who rushed out, as long as they were above heaven-seated realm, had heard of Ning Cheng's name. But now that they heard that Ning Cheng, the death god who directly snatched away a celestial river, had come to Yu clan's corner, how could they dare to speak any nonsense? Yu Baihong's attitude didn't change anything. Yu Xingxian, who had his cultivation abolished, turned even paler, and his heart felt like it had died. He knew that he would never be able to take revenge in this life. Cece's cultivation was too low, so she naturally didn't know about Ning Cheng's prestige. However, she knew about Yu Baihong and Qin Xingwen. Especially Qin Xingwen of Spiritual Heaven Sect, a legendary powerhouse. Yet, he still treated Ning Cheng with such politeness. How could Ning Cheng's strength reach such a level? Sister Qing truly had a good eye, but Sister Qing, alas, Cece's thoughts quickly turned to Aunt Yen, and she quickly stepped forward and said, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, let's hurry and save Aunt Yen. Ning Cheng patted Cece's shoulder and was about to speak when Yu Baihong took the initiative to speak. Is Sect Master Ning a friend of Qing? Ning Cheng didn't bother to build a relationship with Yu Baihong and spoke without any warmth. Where is Shin Mengyan? Take me to her now. Yu Baihong didn't dare to attack Ning Cheng. Instead, he turned around and stared at Yu Xingxian with cold eyes. He then spoke with an icy tone, where did junior apprentice Sister Mengyan go? Yu Xingxian had long since lost the will to live, and his eyes were blank. He didn't answer Yu Baihong's words at all. Bao Lingling, who had fallen to the ground, struggled to get up and pointed at Yu Xingxian with a stern voice. It's him. He used us sisters to please other men. He also used us sisters to snatch Shin Mengyan's essence chi praying mat and imprison Shin Mengyan in Yu clan's water prison. If not for a purple jade, he would have already killed Shin Mengyan. After Bao Lingling finished speaking, she raised her hand and slapped it on her glabella. Her cultivation had been crippled, but she could still shatter her primordial spirit to commit suicide. Ning Cheng reached out and grabbed Yu Xingxian's ring. Using his spiritual consciousness, he easily broke the restrictions on Yu Xingxian's ring. Inside the ring were piles of spiritual grasses and materials, as well as piles of perpetual moon pills, which made Ning Cheng marvel at Yu Xingxian's wealth. Ning Cheng quickly found a praying mat inside the ring. This praying mat looked exactly the same as the praying mat he obtained in the Time Wilderness. This surprised Ning Cheng a lot. He decided to study it when he had the time to find out what was going on. Seeing Ning Cheng grab the ring, Yu Baihong didn't wait for Ning Cheng to start again. He raised his hand and a cluster of flames fell on Yu Xingxian's body. Yu Xingxian and Yu Xingxian were two brothers, one in the heaven-seated realm and the other in the life and death realm. Both of them were of great help to Yu clan's corner. Therefore, he treated Yu Xingxian and Yu Xingxian very generously and valued them a lot. Yu Qing had fallen, and Yu Qing's master, Li Lan, had also fallen. But even he didn't expect that Yu Xingxian would dare to throw Shin Mengyan into the water prison. Yu Xingxian could only watch as the flames swallowed him up. He couldn't even scream. He had thought that with his control over the cultivation resources of Yu clan's corner and the essence chi praying mat, he would one day advance to the eternal realm. What he didn't expect was that someone would come knocking on his door when he was only at the early stage life and death realm. Moreover, Yu Baihong had killed him with his own hands under someone else's powerful suppression. Ning Cheng took away Yu Xingxian's ring, but Yu Baihong acted as if he didn't see it. After a cluster of flames extinguished Yu Xingxian, Yu Baihong spoke up politely to Ning Cheng, Sect Master Ning, my Yu clan's corner gate is unfortunate to have such a scandal happen. I didn't even know about it while I was in seclusion. I feel really guilty. Ning Qing snorted, Yu Baihong, it's useless to talk about this. Hurry up and take me to the water prison. Of course, Brother Ning, please. Yu Baihong quickly spoke up. At the same time, he turned to Qin Xingwen and said, Sect Master Chen, please come with us. Qin Xingwen knew that Yu Baihong felt afraid. He feared that Ning Cheng would suddenly attack his Yu clan's corner in anger. Therefore, he invited him to go with him to make Ning Cheng feel a little more afraid. Okay, let's go together. Qin Xingwen nodded. If he wanted to suppress Ning Cheng, then don't even dream about it. Not to mention whether he could suppress Ning Cheng or not, even if he could suppress Ning Cheng, he wouldn't go against Ning Cheng for Yu clan's corner. As Yu Baihong led the way, Qin Xingwen, who followed behind, suddenly smiled and said to Ning Cheng, Sect Master Ning, these two are my proudest disciples, Xiao Yu and Xiao Chunan. In the future, when they travel through the starry skies, I hope that Sect Master Ning can take care of them. Ning Cheng couldn't understand why Qin Xingwen wanted to introduce these two disciples to him. Although he was younger than Xiao Yu and Xiao Chunan, he still respected strength within the starry skies. But within the starry skies, strength reigned supreme. Compared to Xiao Yu and Xiao Chunan, Ning Cheng was a senior. Hearing his master's introduction, Xiao Yu quickly stepped forward and gave a salute. Spiritual Heaven Sect's Xiao Yu greets Sect Master Ning. He already knew about Ning Cheng's strength. Last time at the Leveled Heart Emperor Mountain, he had already seen Ning Cheng go berserk. Moreover, he also knew that Ning Cheng was the Celestial Scryer Tower's Jiangzhou's wanderer. Therefore, even if he felt 1,000 unwilling in his heart, he didn't dare to be rude in front of Ning Cheng. Compared to Xiao Yu, Xiao Chunan showed a much more indifferent attitude. She just cupped her fists and said a single sentence of greeting Sect Master Ning. Ning Cheng didn't care about Xiao Chunan's attitude at all. He still cared about Shin Mengyan. Qin Xingwen, on the other hand, felt a little embarrassed. He knew what kind of person his disciple was, and he also knew what kind of person Ning Cheng was. To be honest, he didn't want to offend people like Ning Cheng unless it was a last resort. Chapter 757. Yu Baihong had always felt afraid of Ning Cheng and always thought about how to solve the crisis facing Yu clan's corner. Therefore, he didn't think much about Qin Xingwen's words. Moreover, he also wanted to please Qin Xingwen, so he casually spoke up, Yes, Xiao Yu and Xiao Chunan are not only the most talented disciples of the Spiritual Heaven Sect, but even among the 4 grand starry skies, they rank among the top. It's a pity that Yu Qing doesn't have this fortune. Otherwise, Yu Qing An. You're wrong. Ning Cheng interrupted Yu Baihong's words without hesitation. Yu Qing already had someone she liked when she was alive. Don't impose your will on others. Hearing Ning Cheng's unhappy tone, Yu Baihong felt a chill run down his spine and instantly reacted. Since this sect Master Ning came here because of Yu Qing, it meant that he had a close relationship with Yu Qing. In order to curry favor with Qin Xingwen, he had not thought of this point. Thinking of this, he almost slapped himself in the face. He really touched a sore spot. Obviously, he didn't want to anger this sect Master Ning, but the moment his words came out, it made people unhappy. Xiao Yu secretly clenched his fists and lowered his head, not saying a word. Xiao Chunan looked at Xiao Yu strangely. She knew the person in Xiao Yu's heart the best, and that was Yu Qing. For the sake of Yu Qing, he was even willing to suppress his cultivation. He abolished his celestial bridge cultivation and retreated to the celestial gatherer realm. Although he also had the idea of entering the immortal Jade Star, it was not necessarily because of Yu Qing. Because Yu Qing had said that the person she liked was naturally the first in the Celestial Scryer Tower, Xiao Yu wanted to climb higher in the Celestial Scryer Tower. However, what Xiao Yu did not expect was that even if he suppressed his cultivation to the Celestial Gatherer realm, he still could not take the first place in the Celestial Scryer Tower. This was because a new powerhouse had appeared in the Celestial Scryer Tower, Jiangzhou's Wanderer. This person had rushed to the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower, an unprecedented result. Yu Baihong's words were interrupted by Ning Cheng. He couldn't change the topic for a while, causing the atmosphere to suddenly solidify. Hee hee. Chen Xingwen laughed, breaking the frozen atmosphere. He understood the meaning behind Yu Baihong's words. Although he didn't care about Yu Baihong's fawning over him, he didn't mind helping Yu Baihong out of his predicament. Not to mention, this was the reason why he had brought up 2 disciples. For Sect Master Ning to set foot on the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower, not only is it unprecedented, but I'm afraid that no one will be able to do it in the future. It had not been many years since Sect Master Ning ascended the Celestial Scryer Tower, yet he had already become a Sect Master and an eternal level powerhouse. I, Chen Xingwen, have never admired anyone, but elder brother Ning is the first person that I admire. Chen Xingwen warmly praised Ning Cheng. Chen Xingwen did not have a clear understanding of Ning Cheng's cultivation. Although he said that Ning Cheng did not have a celestial wheel, he did sometimes have a celestial will looming behind him. If he said that Ning Cheng had a celestial wheel, then Ning Cheng's celestial wheel was blurry and indistinct. Ning Cheng could make friends with Striking Order, make Starry Sky's premier pill Emperor Zhang Caiha submit to him, and even make Chuan Xinluo feel some fear, which meant that his cultivation naturally wasn't bad. Therefore, he always thought that Ning Cheng was also an eternal level powerhouse. Ning Cheng's heart remained calm and even showed a flat expression towards Chen Xingwen's praise. He didn't even bother to speak. He really didn't like Chen Xingwen's hypocrisy. If Chen Xingwen truly admired him, he would not have gone to Covered Snow City with Chuan Xinluo to find trouble with him. Xiao Chunan looked at Xiao Yu in shock. After a few breaths, she whispered to Xiao Yu, "Senior apprentice brother Xiao Yu, is this Sect Master Ning Cheng the Jiangzhou's wanderer, the wanderer who climbed to the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower?" She had long admired Jiangzhou's wanderer and even wanted to have a face-to-face conversation with this wanderer. She had also been to the Celestial Scryer Tower before and knew how difficult it was to reach the top floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Because of this, she kept thinking about this Jiangzhou's wanderer and wanted to see what kind of person could have such amazing talent. However, her cultivation was too low. Moreover, she didn't like to gossip and had always been in secluded cultivation. Therefore, she had no idea that Ning Cheng was Jiangzhou's wanderer. Xiao Yu felt an inexplicable sense of awkwardness in his heart. If Ning Cheng were also a Heaven's Mandate powerhouse, he might have challenged Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was an eternal powerhouse. He didn't even have the qualifications to talk to him, or rather, he didn't even have the qualifications to feel jealous. Now that Xiao Chunan asked, he could only nod and say, "Yes, he is Jiangzhou's wanderer." Xiao Chunan's eyes lit up and stared at Ning Cheng for the first time. Not only did he climb to the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower, but he also became an eternal powerhouse in just a few years. No one in the entire Culmination Grand Starry Sky had ever heard of such a genius. Chen Xingwen didn't seem to care about Ning Cheng's indifference and still spoke with a smile. "Sect Master Ning still doesn't have a Dao companion. Although Chuanan's cultivation is a bit weak, she is almost at the heaven-seated realm." Chen Xingwen's words had not yet been spoken, but everyone understood what Chen Xingwen meant. That is, Chen Xingwen wanted to bring Xiao Chunan and Ning Cheng together and make Xiao Chunan Ning Cheng's Dao companion. Yu Baihong secretly cursed in his heart. Since Ning Cheng came here for Yu Qing, it meant that he had a close relationship with Yu Qing. Maybe Yu Qing was Ning Cheng's Dao companion. Yu Baihong didn't think of finding a woman from Yu clan to replace Yu Qing. Instead, he said something that made Ning Cheng unhappy. Xiao Chunan was indeed beautiful and had first-class qualifications. However, Yu clan's women also weren't bad. Yu clan's men had always been handsome, and their women had always been beautiful. It was a well-known fact throughout Culmination Starland. Unfortunately, Chen Xingwen had spoken a step ahead of him. At this time, he naturally couldn't say the same words as Chen Xingwen. Xiao Chunan froze. She didn't expect Sect Master Ning to suddenly introduce her to a Dao companion. If she hadn't known that Ning Cheng was Jiangzhou's wanderer, she would have refused without hesitation. Even if Sect Master Ning proposed it, she would have found an excuse to refuse it. But now, she couldn't figure out whether to refuse it or to get in touch with Sect Master Ning. The name of Jiangzhou's wanderer had lingered in her mind for many years. But now, not only did he appear in front of her, but Sect Master Ning even proposed a marriage for her. This huge impact made it impossible for her to make a decision in such a short time. Ning Qing spoke up calmly, "Many thanks for Sect Master Chen's concern, but I already have a wife. We've arrived at the water prison." After Ning Qing finished speaking, Yu Baihong quickly spoke up. After saying this, he immediately called out, "Hurry up and open the water prison for me." Yu Baihong felt angry in his heart. No one had come here in advance to release Shen Mengyan and take good care of her. He thought that he didn't need to say anything at all. After Yu Clan saw his attitude towards Ning Cheng, they would naturally send someone to release Shen Mengyan in advance. But in fact, not only did no one come out in advance, but the water prison's door didn't even open. Yu Clan's experts usually stayed in secluded cultivation. Plus, Ning Cheng's imposing aura suppressed them. Moreover, Yu Xingsheng was in charge of places like the water prison. Now that Ning Cheng killed Yu Xingsheng, Yu Clan's people couldn't adapt to it for a while. No need. Ning Cheng gave a cold snort and punched out. The water prison's restrictions were much weaker than the ones outside. With just one punch, Ning Cheng completely shattered the water prison's restrictions. Yu Baihong's expression turned a little ugly. Ning Cheng didn't even give him half a face. However, he thought that Ning Cheng could even destroy Yu Clan's corner's defensive array. Why would he care about a water prison? He could only hide the ugly expression on his face. Ning Cheng stepped into the water prison. Yu Clan's water prison didn't hold many people, and Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness blades didn't show any mercy in this place. The spiritual consciousness restrictions in the water prison made a series of cracking sounds as Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness blades smashed them into a mess. The Yu Clan's cultivators in Yu Clan's corner all had angry expressions on their faces. But even Yu Baihong didn't dare to speak. No matter how angry they felt, they didn't dare to stand up and point out Ning Cheng's wrongdoings. Chen Xingwen's expression remained calm, not showing the slightest bit of embarrassment from Ning Cheng's rejection. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness went all the way, and after just a few breaths, his expression changed. Then, with a flash, he disappeared from the water prison's entrance. In the deepest part of the water prison, a white-haired woman was chained to a brown pillar. The water prison exuded an unpleasant smell that made people want to vomit. This woman's knees were submerged in water, and one could even see her white bones from afar. The woman's head drooped, and her white hair covered her face. But Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness instantly recognized that this person must be Shen Mengyan. She looked almost 90% similar to Yu Qing. At this time, apart from the white bones submerged in water, Shen Mengyan's body was also covered in blood. Her clothes looked just like a rag, hanging on her dark skin. Yu Baihong and Chen Xingwen, who followed behind Ning Cheng, also saw this scene. Yu Baihong's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect Yu Xingxian to be so bold as to imprison Shen Mengyan in the water prison. If he knew about this, even if Ning Cheng didn't come, he would never have allowed Yu Xingxian to torture Shen Mengyan like this. No matter what, Shen Mengyan was also a member of Yu Clan's corner. Ning Cheng rushed to the top of the water prison and raised his hand, sending out several flame blades. The celestial river flame had already evolved to a grade 5 starry sky flame, and it easily cut through the chains binding Shen Mengyan. Ning Cheng held Shen Mengyan in his arms, took out a piece of clothing and put it on Shen Mengyan's body. At the same time, he punched out. Boom! The brown pillar locking Shen Mengyan directly turned to dust under Ning Cheng's punch. But Ning Cheng didn't stop there. Instead, he kept punching out. The entire water prison looked as if someone had dug out its foundation, and the rumbling sounds continued without end. CC and AI Ku were directly thrown out by Ning Cheng, and even the few prisoners in the water prison were also thrown out by Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's meaning was too obvious. Chen Xingwen shook his head and rushed out of the water prison with his 2 disciples. Yu Baihong looked as if he had aged a few decades and had no choice but to withdraw from the water prison. He understood Ning Cheng's meaning. He wanted to move forward and destroy this place. As everyone withdrew, Ning Cheng blasted this water prison, which had existed for God knows how many years, into ruins. Sect Master Ning, this matter is the misfortune of my Yu clan. I didn't expect Yu Xingxian and Yu Xingxing to be so bold. Yu Baihong came to Ning Cheng and spoke with cupped fists. Ning Cheng glanced at Yu Baihong with cold eyes and spoke with an indifferent tone. Do you think your Yu clan's corner can still exist? You think too highly of yourself. Yu Baihong shuddered, and a deep chill rose from the bottom of his heart. Chapter 758. How many generations of Yu family had spent so much effort to establish Yu clan's corner? Ning Cheng's words clearly indicated that he wanted to completely destroy the Yu clan's corner established by Yu clan, just like the water prison. Without Yu clan's corner, Yu clan's strength would drop by half. Even if Ning Cheng didn't kill a single person from Yu clan wouldn't have the qualifications to remain in Culmination Starland. If the Yu clan left Culmination Starland, it would be nothing. Relying on him, an eternal cultivator. What a joke. He wasn't qualified to learn from Ning Cheng and snatch any planet. The Yu family would immediately collapse and disappear into the boundless starry sky. Aunt Yen. Seeing Shin Mengyan's miserable appearance, Cici rushed over and hugged Shin Mengyan. Shin Mengyan was not only Yu Qing's mother but also Cici's mother. Iku was also constantly wiping away his tears. Yu Baihong knew that it was too late to say anything at this time. It was useless. He took out a jade bottle and said, Sect Master Ning, this is a Golden Crow Clear Void pill. Let's quickly wake Meng Yan up. The Golden Crow Clear Void pill was a Starry Sky Grade 7 healing medicinal pill. Even for eternal level powerhouses, it was a top-grade healing medicinal pill. After all, there were very few alchemy emperors in the universe who could refine Tier 7 pills. It wasn't easy for Yu Baihong to take out the Golden Crow Purging Void pill. Chen Xingwen suddenly spoke up from the side, Sect Master Ning himself is a Starry Sky Grade 8 pill emperor. Moreover, Mysterious Yellow Sect's Deputy Sect Master Tsang Tsaiha is a Starry Sky Grade 9 pill emperor. Brother Yu, please take back the medicinal pill. Sect Master Ning should have a better medicinal pill. Ning Cheng naturally would not accept a trivial Golden Crow Clear Void pill. He looked at Yu Baihong and spoke with a calm voice, I'm going to heal Aunt Yen now. As for the fate of Yu clan's corner, Aunt Yen will see it with her own eyes. After that, Ning Cheng said to Cici, Cici, come in with me. Seeing Ning Cheng bring out an immortal abode-type artifact and then go in, Yu Baihong felt relieved in his heart. As long as Shin Mengyan woke up, she would definitely ask Ning Cheng to spare Yu clan's corner for the sake of their old relationship. What he feared the most was that Ning Cheng would take action now. That way, Shin Mengyan wouldn't even have the chance to plead for mercy. Chen Xingwen on seeing Ning Cheng go and sent a sound transmission to Xiao Chunan, this sect master Ning is a rogue cultivator. But for him to cultivate to this point, it shows that he is extraordinary. I wanted to find you someone to rely on, so I didn't tell you in advance. You won't blame me, right? Xiao Chunan hurriedly sent a voice transmission, this disciple doesn't dare. This disciple believes that I can also advance to the eternal realm in the future. I don't need to rely on anyone, so I don't need to care about others. Chen Xingwen sighed in his heart. If Ning Cheng were just an eternal level cultivator, he wouldn't have fancied him so much. In fact, Ning Cheng wasn't just an eternal cultivator, but an eternal cultivator that even Chuan Xinlo feared. Chuan Xinlo felt fear, and he naturally felt the same. One had to know that he was a late-stage eternal powerhouse. In Grand Culmination Starry Sky, even Chuan Xinlo had to give him some face. Ning Cheng brought Cici into the cave and placed Shin Mengyan flat on the bed. He then took out several medicinal pills and put them into Shin Mengyan's mouth. Cici's eyes turned red and asked with some worry, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, Aunt Yen looks like she has some serious injuries. Ning Cheng comforted her, Cici, you don't have to worry. I happen to have something to help Aunt Yen recover from her injuries. Aunt Yen will be fine. Shen Mengyan's essence spirit and celestial essence had both been sealed up. Moreover, under the effects of the toxin that poisoned one's essence spirit, her essence spirit had already started to dissipate, and her corporeal body was on the verge of collapse. Ordinary cultivators would find it difficult to detoxify this kind of poison that could harm one's essence spirit and soul. However, Ning Cheng had the rootless green bamboo's bamboo leaves, glimmer of dawn ice essence, and a large number of starry sky grade 7 and grade 8 healing medicinal pills. As such, it wouldn't be difficult for Shen Mengyan to recover. The medicinal pills Ning Cheng fed Shen Mengyan's mouth quickly played a role, and layers of filth started to ooze out of Shen Mengyan's body. Shen Mengyan's dark skin also gradually recovered. Even Sisi, who stood on the side, could feel Shen Mengyan's aura growing stronger. After Shen Mengyan's aura returned to normal, Ning Cheng took out a rootless green bamboo leaf and a drop of glimmer of dawn ice essence and put them into Shen Mengyan's mouth. Then, he said to Sisi, "Sisi, take Aunt Yen into the room inside. When Aunt Yen wakes up, help Aunt Yen clean up and change into a new set of clothes." Shen Mengyan's injuries were too severe, and her essence spirit was unstable. Even if Ning Cheng used so many good things, it wouldn't be possible to restore her full strength at once. Unless he helped Shen Mengyan expel the poison from her essence spirit and then used his origin to help Shen Mengyan stabilize her condition. If Shen Mengyan weren't Yu Qing's mother, Ning Cheng might have done this. Although he and Yu Qing didn't have any relationship, Ning Cheng had already regarded Shen Mengyan as an elder in his heart. If he helped Shen Mengyan expel the poison and then used his origin to nourish her, it would be equivalent to looking at Shen Mengyan's entire body. It wouldn't be appropriate. The first person Shen Mengyan saw when she opened her eyes was Sisi. She even thought that she was still in the water prison and asked in surprise, "Sisi, why are you here?" Shen Mengyan quickly understood that this wasn't a water prison, but a room. She didn't have any clothes on her at all, and her entire body was covered in layers of dirt. Sisi was currently helping her clean it up. "Aunt Yen, you woke up." Sisi called out in surprise. Ning Cheng had actually helped Aunt Yen wake up. "This isn't a water prison, my legs." Shen Mengyan knew that the vicious essence spirit poison had corroded her legs. Moreover, this kind of poison, which could corrode one's essence spirit, made it extremely difficult to recover after corroding one's flesh. Even an eternal cultivator wouldn't be able to regrow a severed limb in a short time without top-grade treasures. "Sisi, did you save me?" Shen Mengyan finally understood. Sisi wiped her red and swollen eyes. "Aunt Yen, I didn't save you. I'm useless, and my cultivation is too low. It's senior apprentice brother Ning Cheng. Senior apprentice brother Ning saved you." "Who's Ning Cheng?" Shen Mengyan quickly asked. "Senior apprentice brother Ning Cheng, it's that wanderer." Sisi replied. Shen Mengyan grabbed Sisi's hand and spoke with an anxious tone, "You mean the wanderer that Qing went to look for? Didn't he not come out of the time wilderness? What the hell is going on?" After learning that her daughter had gone to look for an ordinary cultivator named Wanderer and died, Shen Mengyan didn't have a good impression of this wanderer. If it weren't for him, her daughter wouldn't have met with such an accident. Sisi didn't dare to hide anything. She hurriedly told him the whole story. After Shen Mengyan heard it, she let go of Sisi's hand. She suddenly understood why Qing couldn't forget this wanderer. 2 hours later, Shen Mengyan and Sisi came out from inside. Ning Cheng froze for a moment when he saw Shen Mengyan. After restoring her appearance, Shen Mengyan looked even more similar to Yu Qing. Not only was her skin snow-white, but even her hair had turned black. With the help of Ning Cheng's medicinal pills and top-grade spiritual objects, Sisi, who stood next to her, looked a few years older than Shen Mengyan. If Shen Mengyan stood next to Yu Qing today, she wouldn't be able to tell who was the elder sister and who was the younger sister, let alone distinguish the mother-daughter relationship. Thinking about Yu Qing dying for him, Ning Cheng felt a trace of guilt when he saw Shen Mengyan. "You're Ning Cheng? Qing's friend?" Shen Mengyan looked at Ning Cheng standing in front of her in surprise. Because Ning Cheng looked too young, so young that she couldn't believe it. Although Shen Mengyan only had a celestial novice cultivation, she was still a heaven-seated cultivator. Although she was still a celestial novice cultivator, she had yet to fully recover her strength. Once the toxins in her body were completely removed, her strength would return to the heaven-seated realm. Yes, I'm Ning Cheng. Greetings, Aunt Yen. Ning Cheng gave a respectful salute. Shen Mengyan stepped forward and took Ning Cheng's hand. You're the person Qing likes. Don't be so formal with me. If you hadn't come to save me this time, I'm afraid I would have already fallen. After a pause, Shen Mengyan continued, when I heard that Qing died in the Time Wilderness because of you, I didn't like you. But after seeing you, I understood why Qing likes you. You're a good person. She didn't think that Ning Cheng was a good person because he saved her life, but because she felt that Ning Cheng was a good person. This feeling couldn't be expressed in words, it was just a kind of intuition. Ning Cheng quickly took out the purple moon-shaped jade talisman and handed it to Shen Mengyan. Aunt Yen, this is what Qing left behind. Ning Cheng unconsciously followed Shen Mengyan's way of addressing Yu Qing as Qing He didn't even realize it. Shen Mengyan took the jade talisman that Ning Cheng handed to her with trembling hands. She looked at the words left behind by Qing on the purple moon-shaped jade talisman and finally couldn't help but cry out. After that man left, she and Qing had to depend on each other. This purple moon-shaped jade talisman was something she left for her daughter. It was a treasure that surpassed Tao artifacts and could even nourish one's sea of consciousness. Not only could it help one's spiritual consciousness grow, but even if one's sea of consciousness suffered an injury, this purple moon-shaped jade talisman could slowly heal it. Now that this purple jade talisman had returned to her hands, her daughter Qing was no longer around. Aunt Yen, Qing also left behind a dress. I want to keep this dress. Ning Cheng bowed again. Shen Mengyan put the purple jade talisman in Ning Cheng's hand. You can keep it. This is something I left for Qing Since Qing is no longer around, and you're the one she likes, I'll leave it with you. Take good care of Qing things. Remember to visit her on the anniversary of her death every year. I didn't die this time and figured out a lot of things. I think it's time for me to leave and go to the place I should go. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up. Aunt Yen, your cultivation hasn't recovered yet. How can you leave? Cici also spoke up from the side. That's right, Aunt Yen. You only have a celestial novice cultivation. You can't leave. Shen Mengyan didn't seem to hear Ning Cheng and Cici's persuasion at all. She suddenly remembered something and immediately asked, Ning Cheng, how did you save me? I was imprisoned in Yu Clan's Corner's water prison. Before, Shen Mengyan felt sad for her daughter and didn't think about it. But now that she was about to leave, she suddenly thought about it. How could Ning Cheng save her? Moreover, how could her injuries recover so quickly? She knew very well what kind of poison it was. It was the soul-burning declivity flower, a poison that could cause one's essence spirit to collapse and one's cultivation to decay.